Then, welcome to Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, episode 209. We're
Man,
here.
I mean, they feel like they're flying by. I keep saying this, Lisa.
Well,
It's just like, I don't know. Like, here we are already at 209.
I'll tell you, we got a good thing going right now. It seems easier. I mean, 2 movies at the most. It's pretty chill. We seem to be able to work out good scheduling on the weekend for us, and it's not very consuming as it once was. It used to be a lot more, and I'm sure you could speak more upon it to your end as far as what you're doing on the behind the scenes and all that other stuff. And I'm gonna have to guess that it's probably at least 50% less effort.
I streamlined this a long time ago, but then every now and then we'll have an episode where we either pause a lot more or whatever, and it just in listening in real time, you get sucked back into listening in real time to tighten everything up. I really just tighten it up, unless there's something that just didn't turn out, like the audio got fucked for some reason, or whatever. The editing's down to a science. So, you know, if you put, this is what I've always argued, you want just enough production that you keep the listeners are happy and they want to come back to hear the show over and over again, but not too much that you're driving yourself absolutely crazy. You hate doing it, and really at the end of the day, 3 people appreciate it.
True, you're right.
You'll hear all these people say, I appreciate it. They're typically fellow podcast hosts that are like, oh, I wish I could have done that level of production or redo that level of production. So because you guys do that, I respect your show for it. But the average listener wants it to sound good, wants it to be engaging, and want chemistry. I mean, we just got a post, and it was a good critique, as opposed to usually the ones that are just like, which are very few and far between. Usually people are, you guys are the best. And I'm not trying to blow our own balls, whatever. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, blow our own balls. I'm just, it's the reality of the situation of what people, typically the feedback has been great, unless you're a VHS Misfits client, member. If that's still around, I don't even know if it's still around.
That's a good question. We should look it up for fun. Yeah.
Sorry, I got my nose. That was disgusting. My nose is all congested. Anyway, where I was going with it is there's a new review on one of our latest YouTube videos, and it just said the 2-person chemistry is not as good as the 3. I'm paraphrasing. It's still a good show, but there's just something missing from the 3. And I'm like, of course, Brandon is missing. I mean, Brandon is missing, and that was the show, and as was a show for a long time. So I get it, but he was being, it wasn't a fuck you guys suck now. It was like, you know what? I still like the show. It's not the same as it used to be. And it's not. We know that. But we hope, maybe some people will prefer it. Most won't, because Brandon really did inject like a lot of fucking comedy, whether you moaned at his jokes or just thought they were absolutely hilarious, and a lot of insight, because he'll do more of a deep dive than I typically do. Typically, I mean, it just depends on the movie. Sometimes I'll get into the weeds, but usually I stay away from that. I stay away from it. I kind of balance it as an entertainment show. You want to do that deep dive, show love for the movie, but at the end of the day, there are plenty of other podcasts that will do a full analysis or critique of the movie itself.
Well, there's so many different podcasting styles and the stuff people do, and there's the walkthrough method, and then there's the, some people are the opposite. Some people have like a 10-minute review, so everyone just kind of does their thing. See, that's the weird thing about this show, is I try to, when someone's new to it or something, I try to say that it's good. It's if you like movie discussions about movies and movie related things, horror movies and other stuff, and you like some comedy involved, then you'll like it. That's the way I look at it, and here's the thing. It's not, I think now we're kind of in a good spot as far as the content, because it's not as, you don't have to be inside it yes, there's still in jokes. It seems like there's a little bit less of the stuff where you have to know everything to know what we're talking about, and there seems to be we're a little less crude than we were in the beginning. At least, I don't know. That's the way I feel when I listen back. It's kind of by design with me. I've kind of cut back from like the Dave Z Banana Laser person to who I am now.
I love you talking about yourself in a third person based on the podcast you're on. But if you remember correctly, you wanted the show to be different. And I'm like, well, then you asked the wrong person to join, because that was always how I wanted to do it. I wanted to do a show that was mostly bad jokes that talked about horror films.
Well,
like, which I think is what we got. We got the nice, like a little tossed salad, if you will. It's a little bit of that, yeah, a little bit of that with syrup. It's a little bit of that, but it's
chocolate.
I prefer. Anyway, we started again. We say those first few shows very cordial. It's like, oh no, you talk. What's that, Brandon? So then, what show became?
Yeah. Hey, I would love to have Brandon back. There's no question. I wish it was what, and we talked about it before. There is no third there is nobody else like Brandon. That's the problem. I do think that we should incorporate guests more, and the listeners seem to want that. Problem is our recording time and days and everything else is not the easiest to deal with. So we can get together when we can afford to get together and have the time to afford, I should say. We can do it, but it's hard to find a third that's going to be willing to do that.
Well, that might change. That might change come this year, because I'll tell you what's happening. Both daughters are going to be done dance. Like, dance is pretty much in the rearview mirror. She's got one last competition in the middle of the summer to like just let us like hang on by a fucking thread and not let it go completely. And then it's done. And then she's at school, meaning it's done. So now we just have Christian school and seemingly basketball schedule, which we might be able to go back to, like, and again, if it doesn't conflict with your work, a Sunday night or a Monday night. And the reason I say Sunday night is because then I know travel won't interfere with it. I try not to go out on Monday, or if I do, it's a day thing and I'm back, but that allows for the Monday. Now, the problem was before we were starting kind of when the kids went to bed at like 9 and then recording.
That's when I go to bed now.
Yeah. So now again, if we could just
during the week,
if we could just tailor it a little bit, and if Sunday night could work and it doesn't interfere with like a craziness, because we wouldn't be going to bed super late, but you might be going to bed later than usual. So if that could work, maybe Sunday night is back in action. I was gonna mention that to you off the show, but in typical fashion, we talk about everything while we're recording. Why not?
This is true. Problem is, I do the other show on Sunday nights. Not late. It starts at like, and here's the thing. It's already a quandary because I have to see my mother. And so if I'll see my mother on a Sunday, one Sunday I'll go to her place. Dinner's at 5. The other Sunday, I'll be recording. I'll be doing Jay of the Deads. So I'll be over there with them. And that's typically, they start at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So their recordings aren't long though, because they're so frequent. You could just go on there and it's 2 hours and you're out. I mean, I guess 2 hours might be long to normal people, but it's, not for us and not for those guys, because they always have long shows too. So they're like we are, but it's like a 2 hour session or something, maybe 2.5. Bottom line is I always want to get to bed around 9. But now now Sunday night,
I'm only throwing it out there because I'm noticing now Sunday mornings are becoming more of a problem, because that's usually dance or work or whatever for the kids didn't really interfere, or dance could interfere, but usually didn't. Christian's basketball now, it tends to be Saturday and Sunday mornings. And so that's the reason why. But again, something we can work out. I was throwing it out there, even Monday night, because I'm thinking it could be like 8 to 10, but it would typically be, we usually have a 3-hour window because we recorded, and the shows are anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. Typically, some have been longer, very few have been shorter. That's for sure. If anything, I think we had one, if it wasn't a bonus show.
Right.
It was like, I think we had one that came in at like 1 hour and 45 minutes. Like it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, maybe it'll happen again today. You never know.
Another link of summer sausage, but
yeah,
it's funny. I
true.
feel like you're right. Out of both of these ones might be the least amount we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not another trend, but so be it. Even if it is, whether the review's 15 minutes or half an hour, it doesn't really matter. It's just, I said it last show and I'll say it again, and then I'll stop talking so that you can. I feel like it's just
talk.
Is that I'm happy to revisit these because it gives me a reason to.
That's what it is. And it's something I don't mind revisiting or visiting the first time, like these ones here that I've only seen the Hellraisers once and I haven't seen the Frankenstein. So it's good to do that. And it's easy. It's a nice, easy setup. It's better than scrambling. Okay, what are we going to watch this week? And although we do have a good method with the thing we started before we went into summer sausage. So we're pretty much covered for the year. So it's going to be pretty easy.
I'm happy.
Right?
Yeah, I'm happy with what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's great. And like I said, it does give me a reason to go back and see them again.
Right.
And I don't think there's any surprises. I don't think I'm looking forward to, like, this one was a second time watch for me for Hellseeker and for Son of Frankenstein for that matter. Didn't remember that at all. I could be honest. But we'll get to it later when we talk about it. But
interesting.
One aspect. And I started second guessing if I actually did remember it or if I'm just like, again, it's another Mel Brooks reference, pretty much, which you probably know exactly.
I was
going to
say, you probably were thinking that because basically, Young Frankenstein took more from right. It's basically all the first three combined. Is what it is. It's almost like when they did the Friday the 13th remake, how they had elements of the first four, and it's kind of like that. That's Young Frankenstein, but the story of it about being the guy that coming back into town, 100%, and then some other things. I'm like, oh, so that's where he got there from. So he's blowing his horn, he's doing this. I'm like, oh, but I mean, we'll get to it. It's hey, we just got a new patron. Hey, Warren Money has returned. Hey,
Mr. Money.
Yeah, money.
Not just because you rejoined, but you bring him up.
Welcome back.
This guy's been like around from like he was one of the first that reached out. I think when TGIF started or was a thing. Warren Money. There's a handful that are still around. Some not like Dave Verdone. He's around, but he's not like, I don't think he's not a patron of the show or anything, but he's around. And it's not like I've done the other show recently.
Yeah.
But Warren Money was one of the OGs. He's out, like, he's out in Australia. And he's like, I think a lot has happened. I think he got married. Bruce, like, so he's been a busy guy, man.
I can't keep up with anything. I don't know. And I don't go on the feed, so I don't know what's going on there. And the problem is that everything's kind of died down, not just in our group, just in general in the horror groups, as far as podcasts.
I was thinking that too. It doesn't seem to be the same as it was in the Horrorphilia days, where it was like you're here, there, everywhere. Every show had a page, and there was, like you mentioned, there was way too many shows for its own good. Now it's whittled down a little bit. But there's a lot of new shows that I have no clue about that seem to be gaining a lot of traction. And I keep hearing things about great chemistry and whatever. And occasionally I'll pop on a show and I'm like, fucking great chemistry.
What is it? What are these shows?
I can't. You're putting me on the spot now. I don't remember.
Okay.
I should write a list. I go check out best horror podcasts out there because I want to check out some. And none of our usual suspects, including us, sometimes we pop up, sometimes we don't. 22 Shots hasn't popped up in a long time. But like, Jamie and Brian's show, it's like we got it's like we have our own community within the horror community. And
it's always been this way.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because I wonder if Skeleton Crew, or is it Banana Laser that's now out now with all the old shows?
Yeah.
If you're going to gain a new following with new people listening, or if it's going to be the old regime that sort of just re-listens again.
Well, how are they going to find out about it if we don't advertise it and do this and people see it in different places? That's the problem with the whole thing. And think about it this way: there are people that are friends on Facebook that don't even know that they're doing podcasts. Like I could be doing my podcast, this podcast, the other podcast, and I could be friends with somebody on Facebook that does podcasts and not even realize it until I end up in a thread with them and somebody says something about it, because that's just the way it is now. And it's boggling that so many people have, like, okay, for example, like Jay the Dead, new horror movies. Okay. But there's that whole crew, because it's a combination of different people from different shows, but they have their whole family. There's a whole bunch of different shows that, because of Once Upon a Time Horror Movie Podcast was the original show, it's split up to this and this and this, and members of it. They have a whole big circle, and those listeners listen to all those shows. Once Upon a Time, I'm talking early Horrorphilia days, before Exploding Heads were even on it, there was more of that too. There was Skeleton Crew, and there was like 5 or 6 shows, and then Banana Laser came. But we had all that going on where everybody knew each other. But here's the funny thing: a lot of people weren't aware of all these other shows. Like, to think about it, all these years, like listeners of horror movie podcast didn't know about my stuff. And it's been out there. Banana Laser, Exploding Heads, everything. It's out there. I've advertised best I could and everything else, but they weren't even aware of it. And now it's the same thing with some of the hosts not being aware of other hosts and our listeners not knowing them. But you would think
saturation now? Do you think we went through the phase where, it's been saturation for years, but remember back in the beginning, like TJF 13, I made a fucking Facebook page and I made like a Twitter account. And I would just initially link everything Friday the 13th related to it. And just, but I wasn't always advertising the show. It's just, hey, here's cool pictures and whatever. And I'm not talking like I was even after the curve, because I think that was like 2013. And I mean, there were podcasts that already had been out for a few years. I just said, oh, I could do this, and why not? And just jumped in, not even really researching it or anything, like I've mentioned, and just gained an audience organically. Now we're not talking about, I was not getting like 1,000 listeners per show, but it would start, and all of a sudden organically, you just see that I was getting 300, 400, 500 listens per show. And then it was going up and up. And then eventually it was like, oh, your show hit 40,000 listens. Like, not one episode, like I'm talking about a catalog back in the day. And I think I even took screenshots of it, because I'm like, I left. And sometimes when you, like, even when our feed now for Exploding Heads, we're over 100,000 listens, but that's since we've started on the new feed. It didn't carry over the historical data. So we couldn't get any of the historical data that fed through Horrorphilia. So although we kept the same feed, we couldn't get those. All the numbers that we're getting through Spotify are when we joined Spotify.
Okay.
Most popular podcast episode, how many listens, typical listenership, whatever the least popular show, which I'll take the hit. What the time was my solo, it was all 3 solo casts were boom, boom, boom at the bottom.
Oh,
Did I bring this up on the show already? And mine was
probably,
mine was at rock bottom. I'm like, damn you, motherfuckers!
Poor guy. Well, it's the Canadiana thing. Not everybody's interested in it.
So saturation. That's what I interrupted you with saturation. Like, it's been saturated for a bit. Do you think finally it burst, and people are just like sticking maybe with their favorites, whether it be us or whether it be something else? And I mean, I know we lost people. We pissed people off when we joined Patreon exclusive. And it's funny, those people didn't seem to come back, or at least they've been quiet. If they did come back since the episodes were released, and we're like, about 30-ish behind, or whatever it is, 36 behind. I'm trying to keep us a year behind.
Right. But you're right. That's what happened. And that's the reason that our groups don't have the engagement that they did have. It is oversaturation. Something did burn out, kind of, involving the groups. Just everybody's like, the only ones that are active are the ones where the podcast hosts are posting something every day, and I'm talking like every host of the show.
Can't do it anymore.
They are the ones that have to stir it up. No, I hear you. But if they make that effort to try to stir up conversation every day, it kind of gets contagious. And then other people in the group are more likely to do their own. That's what I've noticed, because it's really gotten quiet. It's really come to an end. It's kind of weird how maybe sometimes like one person will decide that this group is going to be the group I'm going to post in. And they'll have the one consistent person that posts all the time. You always see it in these groups. It's kind of funny. And they just stick with that group. And then I don't even know if you even listen to the podcast half the time. But here's the thing, though. You can't win either way. The perfect situation would be to be Patreon exclusive and have an engaging audience all the time like that. Because they're both equally great to have. Like, that's kind of what I miss. Like, I miss all that engagement. I miss, like, in Land of the Creeps, they got a real good thing going in their group page, and I'm engaged in it. I'm with them. You know what I mean? And there's another podcast I listen to. It's a wrestling podcast, and the way they talk about the hosts on the show, the listeners, and all the in jokes, they're always posting things about it. And it's a lot of hip people. I look at that stuff. I'm like, man, I wish that our pages were like this. This is as much as as cool as it is to do this. What we're doing, I missed all that big engagement with people that are genuinely interested in the show, and that it's on the tip of their tongue. And they're talking, this just came out. Did you hear that so-and-so said this on the show? And they make a meme about it or something. That's what I like. The engagement, the family.
Rayman's the only one doing that anymore. There used to be definitely way more of that, but
that's what I miss. That's what I miss. That seems to be the but again, that's what happens. It's soulless. It's soulless because we took the freaking paywall route. That's what happened. See, now we're on Patreon. So we said, okay, we're going to do this.
We're like Hooker with a Penis. I love that Tool song.
Yeah, me too.
We sold our soul to make a record.
Yeah, sold our soul to make a podcast and a movie. You know?
and only one's happening. Here, I got the newest ranking just for shits and giggles. Here we go. Love it. Love those shits and giggles. Ranking at the absolute bottom. Again, since we joined, this is the stats of the audio version only since we joined Spotify. So these are the stats since we joined Spotify. The least listened to show is my episode solo cast, Christian's Canadian Horror Story, and then ranking just above it is Brandon's Hidden Gems. Above that is The Innocents, and I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives Down the House. And right above that, as these are is Another Evil and Pieces of Talent.
Where's my show?
And then
Where's my solo
yours
show?
is the fifth. We're in the bottom five. Yours is at the very top of the bottom five in the sense of that it's your show, the Dave Z Project. So
I'm happy.
The solo cast, the solo cast, you should be, because we were hedging bets, and you guys were all like going, "Oh, listen to the production Christian did on his and this, that, and the other thing." It doesn't fucking matter. That just shows you production means fucking shit.
I had no production, zero. Here, press record, talk for freaking 90 minutes or whatever it was. I even talked about how I was getting out of breath as I was doing it, and then it's not going to be edited. Yeah.
And it's probably no surprise to you what the top five are, but could you guess what the most popular episode? The first Friday. The first Friday has been our most listened to. It was before the Patreon or before Spotify, and it is still now. And then what's number two?
Number two after Friday, huh? The Slasher Show, 50?
Funny enough, it used to be. It's now the second episode of the Friday the 13th, which makes sense.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
I agree.
There's a bit of a gap. The third one, it will shock you.
The third one will shock me, huh? Nightmare on Elm Street.
No. Episode 101.
What?
Because it was the first one we went Patreon exclusive, and then the first one I think we released to the masses, obviously, 101, that we're back for just delayed by, that was at that point like 2 years or whatever like that, or whatever it be. So it's got a lot of traction. Then the Slasher episode, number 4, and to round up the top 5 is another very random one, episode 109.
What the hell is it? Do you know?
I don't even know. I'd have to go back.
I'll look it
Episode
up.
109.
It's going to be on the Patreon, and I know how to, I'm good with searching on the
Let me
Patreon
see.
page.
I could look it up here. I clacked it.
Click, clack, clickety, clackety.
Episode overview. Give me the episode overview. It's not telling me what it is.
Hey, this guy.
I'll have to go in old school. It's not telling me. Oh, it's a Scream franchise.
Oh,
that makes sense.
good.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have heard our Scream franchise show.
That's
what I wanted.
And then Halloween, points. But I won't keep going. But then the Halloween ones kick in. But
okay.
It's interesting. So episode 101 is it's the big surprise there.
Yeah, that is a surprise. Do you even know what we talked about on that show?
Well, it was the one where we're like saying, "Hey, we're exclusive." It was the Patreon only exclusive one, and then when people got mad, that's when we lost a lot of our listenership initially, because they thought we sold out, which we did.
I wish we did sell out, like really sell out, like wearing freaking.
If I sell out, to be wearing fucking gold chains this whole show.
That's bling, what I'm saying. Who's gonna
dog fart?
See
rings on my arm.
I want to. This is what I'm saying. If you're gonna sell out, if you're gonna go on the other side, you at least want to align yourself with like Bloody Disgusting or one of the big groups and get like freaking 10,000 downloads a show. Then you have engagement. Then you can go on your Twitter. Then everybody knows about you, and then you get that.
Though.
Not that I want fame.
We're safe.
I want to be known amongst horror people.
We'd be canceled.
That's not fame.
We'd be canceled. There'd be an argument because I think we walk that fine line. But I think there are people that can't read between the lines and will just say, and occasionally sometimes we have gone just for the joke. And, whether it be myself, Brandon, or you, I think there would be some that just can't see it, would be like, these guys are idiots, can't believe what they're talking about, this, that, and the other thing, whatever it may be. So we're fine where we are, but I would love more people to listen. I think every show would want more people to listen. I don't say that's the only reason I do the show. I do the show because it's fun. I like talking with you, and I like the core group that we interact with. That's pretty much the reason why we continue to do it and still do it. But of course, I would love to grow the show or have it go into other avenues. And again, I always second guess what way that is, because as soon as I thought YouTube was dead and everything was going, and I did think that, I would be the one that would have waged my bets and said that Facebook videos, because I was putting my videos on YouTube and my Halloween videos back in the day, and they were getting pretty, not great views, but decent enough for nobody that didn't promote anything other than on a personal Facebook page. Then I put it to Facebook, and the views quadrupled. And I'm like, well, it's because it's built in. Everybody's already on Facebook, but as Facebook popularity is sort of waned, I think with TikToks and whatever, it's there. People filter through them, but every platform now has it. And YouTube, it just keeps growing and growing into a monster that, like, this is why you got kids like that are, just a little bit older than my son, making millions because of their YouTube channels. They just connect with people.
You really have to turn it into a full-time job if you're going to do things like that. And this is what I notice when I watch videos on YouTube. I'm like, the time that it probably takes to put this together with the way it's edited and things popping up on the screen. And now I don't know much about it, but I can just take a guess. But from what I see going on with these YouTube videos and everything else, even if I'm watching a 50-minute freaking, I'm going to talk about 30 found footage movies or something. I watch a video like that, and they put things up on the screen, and I'm just like, the production that goes into it and the time they put into it must be like having a full-time job. So it's really not even an easy way out, because if you want to take the gamble,
cue Rocky IV theme.
Exactly. Yes. There's no easy way out, The thing is, the time that you have to put into these videos, you really got to get into it. And if you're working a full-time job, then you got to do it after hours. I mean, there's something to be said for having a hustle and freaking building something, and I give it props. But the time you got to put in, it's like having a full-time job. And if you don't have that time, and if you can't do that, then are they really... These people that are making some money with the ads on YouTube or what have you, I just think they're probably not even, the percentage of people that are making real money is probably so low It's probably like 1% of the people on YouTube, but they make it sound like it's something that again, they're selling that. It's easy to attain. Everybody's always selling something. There's easy money out there, but it's not easy because the work you got to put in. I keep repeating it, but
there's editing work to be done. We have the content. We've got,
I wish I could do it.
208 shows already under our belt, and there's 209. And to be honest, I was just thinking at one point we were starting to do it when we went patron exclusive to put the ads out. That, hey, it's here. It seemed to put fuel in the fire for people that were mad that we sold out at the time. But where I'm going with it now, with TikTok or Facebook videos or whatever the hell they're called now, Reels and all that shit, is that we could do these short little previews and start with episode 1 and kind of do like, it's kind of like Exploding Heads remix, one all the way through, but you've got to dedicate the time. It's like, go back and if you remember, we didn't start doing the video until we got much closer to, I think it was in the high 80s or in the 90s, episode 90s. We had video version, but it was just the logo.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And that was it for the longest time. So the only thing I could do is you could do still heads and whatever and try to, as someone's talking and interjecting and whatever. I'm talking about, like, the quick 30-second to 1 minute, like, here's what it's all about. Check it out. Click here to check it out. Done.
Yeah, that would be great, but that takes time.
It takes time, but I mean, like,
and you don't have it. You know what I mean? If you
it's not that I don't have it. There's only so much to divide amongst everything that you feel like you want to do.
That's what I'm saying.
I was looking the other day. I grabbed my notebook and I said, okay, let's start hashing out some of these ideas that I keep talking about to finally press forward with this thing. I think I made 10 minutes in and then was distracted by something else and had to deal with something else. I'm like, fuck, here we go.
I can't do it. I need to be alone in a quiet place and not disturbed, and dive into something and do it. And then I can do it. But the odds of that happening, it just doesn't happen. I mean, I suppose I could make it happen if I really, really tried harder. But I tend to get discouraged when I'm doing things. I start thinking, and then because it's the way my mind works anyway. If the domino effect will begin. If I think about this when I'm trying to concentrate on this, it's going to lead to this, to this, to this, to this. And next thing you know, I'm doubting everything I'm doing. I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's why I'll drive myself crazy. This is it. I would be one of those people. If I really took pride in my work, that I was doing something like musically or in the movies, anything where I have a passion for it, there's a good chance I would drive myself crazy with my art form, because I would be I just know that's how I operate. That I'd like to be able to say that once I got money, I just wouldn't care anymore. And there is a chance that would happen. There is a chance, but I'd be like, give me a couple million. And I don't mean not care anymore as in be a jerk and not care about the content I was putting out, but I would sweat things less, because now that I got money in my pocket, well, if I fail, I fail, but I've already won at life. I already got 2 million in the bank. I'm chill. Yeah. You know what I mean? I could coast out the rest of my life, live off the interest, live in this house, and not have to go anywhere, which would make me happy because I don't want to leave the house anyway. So wonderful. That's what I would do. But I don't even know what I was getting at. I'm just saying that I would probably, I could drive myself crazy, because that's what I do when I think about making this movie and everything else. And I start putting pieces together, and then I'm like, oh, well, then this gets in the way. And then I start thinking about money. That is the answer. Everything comes down to money, sadly. That's it.
Let me throw some more stats out to you to make you happy. Maybe this will get your juices going. I'm going to keep promoting the show. So overall, I can't remember exactly when we moved it to Anchor, which now is Spotify podcast, but this is the data that has been since we joined Anchor. So whenever we did that switch over from Horophilia, it's been a few years, but 103,000 all-time plays.
Nice
show.
Awesome.
And I thought this was really interesting, actually. I don't know where the fuck I just the audience. Obviously, this has come to no surprise. 64% listen through Apple Podcasts and 17% listen through Spotify. And the rest is just a mixture of other things, like Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, web browser, or other. But majority are still what we expected. And over 74% are from an iPhone, and pretty much 24% are Android, and the rest would be on a computer, I guess.
Wow, man.
That's cool, kind of cool stats.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm happy it's going well. There are a lot of people are listening. Wish we had the all-time stats from before, but still, we have the ballpark at least. No, that's awesome.
Well, because our audience size differs depending on when your episode drops or whatever. It hovers typically, roughly around 400 to 500, depending on the time I'm looking, as unique listens and overall audience for the audio version, and then for the video version, there's a smaller audience, but the YouTube channel still does quite well. But this is like they average it, and then it's funny how quickly, like usually for the first 4 weeks, we get up to about 500 listens per show, roughly. It gets up there, and then as it goes, it jumps to like 6, 7, 8 as it goes out to 8 to 10 weeks or whatever. So I don't know how they do I think they do the overall calculation. So you've got like my podcast, Solocast, your Solocast, Brandon's Solocast, bringing the overall numbers down.
Yeah. Well, who's listening to them now? I think anyone's going back in time to freaking find those things.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
I got a few, but not, those Solocasts we said they're an experiment that we said we would never do again. It's not fun because I need to bounce off you. Otherwise, I just have to read. We need that camaraderie, whether it just be you and I,
right,
or whether it was be the trio.
Well, imagine hosting a YouTube channel by yourself, like so many people do. So you're saying you don't think you could do it?
I could do. I do want to do, and another one of the things I've been on the back burner of creativity, because you just have to sort of do it. Is I wanted to do those continuity segments on Friday the 13th or whatever, because again, we love the series. We keep talking about it, but I'd love to have it playing behind me and illustrating it as we go.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
So it's, wow. I think I know how to do it. Now, the other way I could do it is I could just literally screen record and then put it in my editor. And see, a lot of them are doing these things live. They got the shit behind them. They're doing them live.
I'm okay to do that. That'd be fun.
And yeah, you're probably better for that. I like to control it and edit it and whatnot, so that I could, freeze frame it where I want to, circle it. Maybe I could do that live if I had the proper tech here in front of me, and it would show up, because if it's a green screen and I'm projecting what I want it to show, I should be able to pause it, circle it, rewind it, do everything I need to do. But
yeah,
if I could do it backwards and then sort of be talking over it, and then have it just playing and then talk over it. So you edit the piece and then you talk over it. But those are the mini, more like the teaser episodes. And it doesn't even have to talk, like, even if it's about Alone in the Dark, episode 1, we don't have to be talking about Alone in the Dark during that little segment. It can be talking about, like, oh, this is our first episode, I can't believe it, cut to something else, something said, like I used to do, like a boom, bam, bing, and it's just like a teaser. You throw it out there and then do it for that. It's just to get more quote unquote content out for people that,
sure.
And it seems like that's the new way of doing it now, is everybody wants little quick videos. So we like long form.
I'm down with it. No, that'd be great. If we had the time, that would be awesome to do. I would do it. It's just that it takes work to do it. And you know what? By the way,
getting those 3D or the LPs. They're the LPs.
Is that what that is? Wow.
Yeah, they're
freaking sweet.
This one is pretty. Well, they're all cool.
Friday the 13th vinyls. There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
This one has, I don't know if it probably won't come through.
I see. I know what it is. Oh yeah, I see it. It did a thing. It's got a holographic.
Yeah.
That's freaking cool. I just got a little bit of it. Yeah, I would love to have those.
They're not inexpensive, but you know how I spend even
Right.
more money is I should have had them shipped to you. But again, I didn't know when I was going to be coming down to see you. So I would add free shipping. It would have been absolutely free.
Wow.
And I could have just picked them up whenever I came by. But then who knows when I was going to come by next or when I was going to be able to. It did take over a month to get to me anyway. But then I had to pay shipping, and then I had to pay $17 extra after for duty. Fucking customs. I'm pissed off. So I ended up paying 50 more bucks than I probably needed to if I just sent it through you.
Mamma mia.
Yeah.
That sucks. It'd be cheaper to drive up here and get them.
I'm telling you, well, yes and no. I mean, it's about the same, but we could have recorded an episode or something. We could have added to the reasoning or whatever. Got to see a freaking movie. I saw the new Spider-Man across the Spiderverse last night with Christian.
It's still playing, huh?
It just came out. It came out last weekend. I
can't keep up with all these freaking Spider-Mans and
this is the
Batmans.
Cartoon. It was great. It was great. It was long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think they said the longest North American animated film ever. And that's where
we're at now.
I'll say one thing. So if you're interested in seeing the movie and know nothing about it, skip ahead 10 seconds because I'll be very quick. Movie plays out. They set up for this big climatic fight. And this thing comes on. It says, to be continued. And the whole audience screamed back at the screen.
Wait, at the end of the movie?
Yeah. So it's like this big, don't get me wrong, there's enough that happens within the film to keep you happy. But we got that boom, like a true comic in a sense, like to be continued.
True.
I was like, holy, I wasn't offended, but you should have heard the people yelling back at the screen. The only other time I heard that, not even to that extent, it wasn't even to this extent, is when it finished and it went in it chapter 1 or whatever at the end of the movie. Although you would be shocked at how many people were like, what? I'm like, yeah.
How did they not know?
How did you not know? Exactly.
Who cares then? You know, they got their money. Good. Freaking people. You know, now here's the thing. People are booing at the end of the Spider-Man or getting upset about it because they're so used to nowadays. There's no such thing anymore as even waiting a week for a show. Everything's instant. You get a series, you sit down, you watch it all. So, I mean, it's almost like they're kind of, and if you think about it in today's society, it's almost like they're ripping people off by doing this because they could just make a cartoon series and call it Into the Spiderverse and just drop it all on freaking on Disney or whoever the hell would own it. And boom, there it is. And it's like, you know, how long is this movie? 2.5 hours? Maybe let's say another one is. Okay. Well, let's say they make a 5-hour show. So instead of having a 5-hour show, which they should do and could do, they're putting it up to movie theaters, making people put down their freaking money and go and sit in there and then say, okay, now you have to wait. And they're going to put it in your face by saying to be continued. They could have just ended it and not even said that, like Empire Strikes Back ends. And it's just, you know, it's going to come again. You know that that things are, there's
the movie did sum up very well. Like in a sense, like you're kind of like, what the fuck? And then there's like a whole other character, you know, getting everybody together. And you're like, the only thing going through my head is I kind of know that we're at the time frame for this movie to end. So this is going to be either the most anticlimactic fight or something else is going to have to happen. But I had read nothing about it. So then we got that. But it's not like they rip you off. You felt like you got your money's worth. The animation is like they somehow one-upped what they did with the first one. And that first one's phenomenal animation and still probably my favorite at-home 3D movie that I've seen. Now, this one's not in 3D, and the way they worded it is they animated in such a way that 3D was not necessary. Now, while I don't necessarily agree with that, because I do love that aspect of 3D. I can see what they're saying, and my mouth was dropping it with some of the things that they were just doing. It was just amazing. So from a visual standpoint, very satisfying. From a story standpoint, I really enjoyed it. So we're being left off. I didn't feel ripped off, and they had done them back to back. So the next one does not come out by Christmas, but it comes out like March of next year. But it's not like you have to wait another 4 years for it or anything. It's not like they had no idea where they're going.
See,
but
yeah, it's not 4 years. Think about like going Back to the Future ended. You know, didn't it say to be continued at the end of that when they pull away?
Yeah, my understanding though, it's to be continued later. My understanding when you saw it in the theater in like when it initially came out, the initial run, it was kind of like episode 4, A New Hope, on Star Wars. That when the first Star Wars came, when it first got released, it was called Star Wars.
Sure did, yeah.
And
sure
then I think they said it may have been called A New Hope or New Hope with the thing, but then they put episode 4 on the re-release. So I think the to be continued for Back to the Future came when it went to video or something else. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty damn sure about it.
Really?
Yeah, because then they knew that they wanted to make more movies, and then he came out with and how he did it. You knew that 2 and 3 were coming out 6 months apart from one another, and maybe people knew that the Spider-Man movie was 2 parts. I could be in the minority here. I read nothing on it. I went in because my son wanted to go see it, and I told him I'd take him, and then I knew it was also going to be 2.5 hours, so I had to mentally prepare myself for it. But again, like anything, when you're in the theater and experiencing this, it did not feel like 2.5 hours. That's for sure.
Good. No, that's awesome. I'm just trying to figure out, but you're not the only one. You said that people were upset at the end of the movie when it said to be continued. So
yeah,
it's probably not your fault. Everybody probably experienced it.
People were yelling at the screen, but but then smiling after, almost like mad, like, what? You gotta be kidding me. What? Like just all over the theater. And then everybody leaving with big smiles on their face going, okay, guess we're coming back. Motherfucks.
Yeah, hey. I mean, if you enjoy it, that's cool. And I respect having to wait because nowadays you don't see it as much with shows and everything else being what I'm glad we got something cool happening in movies as opposed to, I don't know. It's kind of a weird time for movies, period. It just is. I don't know if we're having a good time or a bad time. Like if you look at the grand scheme of the cinematic of the world of it since it's been around and where it was in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and you know where we are now, everything's very derivative now, so it's easy to critique. And a lot of other directors have had heavy critiques about that and the streaming era and everything else. So it's hard to say. Like for me, I'm not going to knock it because I'm not interested in it. Obviously, people like it. So I'm not going to say that movies now suck because it's all superhero stuff and it has been for too long. And I called it in the beginning and I said they're just going to freaking drain the freaking well and it's just going to be the same stuff. And then they're going to finish it and do another one and another Spider-Man and another Batman and a this and a that. And there's just like, there's nothing creative. I could say that, but apparently a lot of people don't feel that way. Although I have seen more people coming around lately, the last year, finally saying that they're getting sick of the freaking superhero movies, which is what I said the first 3 years they were out. So
I go through phases. I was sick of them, then I kind of got roped back in. Now I am kind of sick of them. This is different though. The cartoon Spider-Mans, the Spider-Man's ones have won me over more times than not. But the cartoon ones, I think this is cinema. It takes it because of the way that they're doing with the animation, and they're almost like combining animation styles as well. It's next level. So from the artistry standpoint, from that is what I think also elevates it. Plus, great kind of story in the way that they'll you watch a regular animated movie, it would play out. The animation's gotten amazing in the last 2 decades. I mean, it's always been great, but where they've been able to go and what they've been able to do now, the color palettes that they could use are just phenomenal. And then they'll have scenes that are right out of a comic book in this movie, but you accept it. You don't you don't say, well, they didn't finish that drawing or whatever. It's like the characters are kind of drawn and in focus and totally clear, but the backgrounds kind of bleed and almost express their mood or the mood that the scene is portraying. So it's like a living background. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is using the technique really well. And essentially live action ones, the downfall is they're cartoons. But
yeah, they
because
look like
they're live
games.
action, you're kind of like you're in this world where no, this is an actual cartoon. So you're in that realm, and they could do whatever they want with it. But for whatever reason, when you watch like whether it be a Fast and the Furious, whether it be another Marvel movie, whatever it may be, they've gotten better, but there's just the weight it doesn't seem like they have anything as weight. Everybody's indestructible nowadays. It's just, I don't know.
Well, that's everything now.
Every now and then I'll get sucked
same thing with wrestling.
One movie, but I can't. I'm kind of done with superhero movies in general, but I've realized I think I'm done more with the Marvel superhero movies. The DC ones seem to keep me a little bit more interested, for the most part.
Wow, that's for the most part. I thought. Wow, Marvel fanboys are a thing. Holy shit, they're die hard, out of control.
Yeah. Well, because I'm sick of the movies too. I agree with the very blanketed critique is it's not cinema anymore. You want to talk about being ripped off? Those could easily be dropped onto Disney Plus, which they typically are because Disney owns Marvel. So once it fails at the box office or does amazing at the box office, like most of them do, a month later it's going to be on Disney Plus. 2 months later,
well, let me ask you this, and I don't know what's coming out this year, but can you think of the last time a movie had a real big impact, like a summer blockbuster that was it wasn't derivative of anything else? It was a fresh something that came out that was like a big summer blockbuster that everybody enjoyed. Like, can you think of that?
Even the first one that came to my mind was derivative. So like lately, the first thing that came to my mind was The Meg. Funny enough, that came out a few summers ago, but it's a shark movie. It's a giant shark movie. But that came kind of out of nowhere. I didn't expect that to do very well.
I can accept that though.
It was even
I can accept
released in August, where August is kind of like where they dump the last remaining summer movies out. I think it became this big, huge sensation. But most of the summer movies lately have been Marvel movies.
Well, most of all movies, but I'm just trying to think of the days when we were kids and summer blockbusters coming out,
like the Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, whatever,
E.T. when it came out, and whatever, just like the Goonies. There was all these things, original ideas, and when I say derivative, I'm not going to knock The Meg, because then now you're getting too uptight. You can have a movie about
and let's be honest, The Meg is not the Goonies or Back to the Future. Like it's in two different categories. But
well, there you go.
They're trying to create an event there. But again, I know what you're saying, and that's the only thing I could think of that had that vibe. Like nothing that like made you want to go and say, I got to go see this. Even the new Indiana Jones, which I've heard so many mixed things about from the pre-release or being shown at a film festival, comes out next. It comes out the 30th, June 30th. Okay. I want to see it. The Dial of Destiny. I'll give it a shot. Like the last one, which was 2007.
I didn't see that either.
Well, I saw it in the theater, and it had elements. It felt like it had elements of the magic of the originals, but it fell short, and there was too many wacky things that just took you out of the movie, and I couldn't get into it. I'm worried about the same. Now, Spielberg is only, I think, produced this. I don't think he's not in the director's chair. It's someone else completely. So maybe it's a love note. I'm hoping out that I'm going to enjoy this. I really, but it's not like I must see. Like this year, Indiana Jones is coming back to the theaters. I feel like if anything, there hasn't been that much promotion. I know there's been promotion, but it doesn't feel like before. Like you're just like, I have to see it.
No, there is nothing like that for me. That's what I'm saying. That's part of where we are now. It's soulless. There's nothing like in 20 years from now, what are people going to look back on and say, oh yeah, that movie? What are they going to say? A random freaking
to watch Avengers Endgame for the 15th time or 100th time or whatever.
So maybe Avengers Endgame is going to be looked back in 20 years as the way people look at Back to the Future. That's what I'm trying to say. Are we going to have movies like the way people look at Ghostbusters or Back to the Future or E.T. or freaking just name like 10 movies from like that time period that were big. Indiana Jones, just all these things.
Why are they all these reboots? They're all reboots of the nostalgia movies we're talking about.
This is what that's the question.
Ghostbusters Afterlife. There's another Ghostbusters coming out. I'm surprised there's not another Back to the Future. I know it was teased upon, but then they say that it's not happening. And we've got, so the Ghostbusters have been rejuvenated. Indiana Jones has a new one coming out, whether it be the final one or not, whatever. It's out, coming out.
Star Wars came out.
Star Wars, all that stuff. I mean, feels
every year
Star Wars has been played out. Like Mandalorian, you could stop hearing about the Mandalorian. Season 3 came out. And again, I'm not as active on Facebook anymore, but I feel like nobody was talking about it like it was being talked about when the first 2 seasons came.
Now, we're talking about Andor. That's what people were blowing for a while.
Were they? I didn't even think that was getting blown at all. Maybe like a little bald fluffering, but
no, people
full enchilada.
People are always into that. I still haven't seen it. I'll get to it, I guess. I don't know.
What's the first episode?
You did? Was it any good?
Yeah, they're all decent. My problem with episodic TV with Star Wars is that when it's slow, I feel like it's fucking slow. Like,
well, that's the problem.
It's like it stops dead. No, but like other shows could do it very well for whatever reason.
The format, I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the format, that you feel since you're going to have a show, now you got to stretch it out. But as opposed to a movie, you just boom, bam, bing, do your thing. And then that's the problem. If you don't have enough material to balance a long running show, then you're going to have a problem. In most shows, think about it. You always hear these complaints that they always get worse as they go on. You always hear that. Some went out at a peak, like Breaking Bad went out at the perfect time. But now I don't agree with this, but a lot of people didn't like Sopranos season 6. Maybe not a lot, but a fair amount compared to what was happening prior to that. And you hear about it a lot. This show was great until the last season. This show was great until the last couple seasons. It always seems like, I would say 75%.
We're looking at you, Dexter.
There's another one. I still haven't watched it. There's so many shows like this. Although nowadays, if you get like the show, if you have like 3 seasons or less, it's fine. But it seems like when you start doing 4, 5, 6, and 7, then it's like they don't have the steam. And I see it all the time. But then again, this is because everything's streaming now and shows. There's also something bad that's going on there. It's great that we have them. And a lot of the great shows are just 3 seasons or less. You know what I mean? Or some of them are even one-offs, and it's great for it. But you hear that a lot. It's hard to do. It's hard to freaking write that. And Star Wars has become oversaturated. I've been saying this since Disney got involved. And I said, now, when we were young, it was special. It was like every 3 years we waited for the Star Wars. And the wait, at the time.
Although Rogue One, I loved Rogue One. So they were like 2 for 2 for me. Force Awakens and Rogue One, I'm like, here we go. Finally, Star Wars movies, because I'm not a fan of the prequels at all. I every now and then put them on to give them a chance, and I go, why am I doing this to myself? I
enjoy them.
I know you do. I
enjoy them all.
It boggles my mind. But
everyone, so, 1 through 9.
Yeah, well, good for you.
Yeah, I enjoy them all.
I'm not there, but I agree, and I think that Han Solo one sort of taught them a lesson. It came out and bombed, and I think it was because it was too much. And it also came on the heels of The Last Jedi, which I think pissed a lot of people off. So they should have waited. They should have done one every Christmas. If they're going to do that, you had your main trilogy happening every 2 years. It was every 3, like you said, but they were trying to tighten that down. I get it. So they're doing every 2 years, and then they're wedging an offshoot one in between. So they wedged that Rogue One in between, 2 for 2. Then the Last Jedi came. I'm like, well, this is fucking ridiculous. I know you love it. And then Solo came out 6 months later. That was the misstep. They should have waited. I'm not saying it would have made the movie better.
They didn't know.
They needed people to calm down after that. I think they felt like they needed to rush it out because of the backlash of The Last Jedi, of it being so divisive. And
why even worry? You're fucking Disney, you're Star Wars, you got all the money in the world. Why would you even worry? That's what I don't get about. And they play into the hands of these internet people that want to complain about everything. Why would you play into the hand of the marks? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's the same thing that's happened in wrestling. These people are going to be there no matter what. You're the one that they're waiting to see your product. They're gonna pay their money to see it no matter what. So why even sweat it? Unless you have somebody at the top of it all, like a creative person that takes a lot of pride in what they're writing or creating or something, those people, yes. But when you talk about you're referring to the producers and the company. You're not referring to the creative forces behind it. These are people only looking at it from a financial standpoint.
True.
They should be the least worried. This is what I've noticed in life. People that should be the least stressed are the most, and people that should be the most stressed are the least. And it's boggling. Just like animals. Look at your pets. Okay? Your pets, they're all nervous. They worry. They don't have to worry about anything. Your cats, your dogs, their life is given to them. All we do is give them food, give them water, do this. They get everything they want handed by us. And they're still nervous about everything in sight. they bug out. And it's the same thing with the elderly. My parents are both healthy. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. Okay. My parents are both getting by, and they are 85 and 75 years old. Retired. They don't have to work. They can do the things they want to do. They're both nervous. Here's who should be nervous. You and I. If I make it to 75 or 85, which I won't, I'm going to be way worse off than they are. Anyway.
I heard you. No, sorry. I was handed fruit.
No, it's just, things just boggle my mind about, the human condition. When you sit back and analyze it.
It's funny that you say it like that, because you hit the nail on the head, and it's very true. It pretty much, I think that's just the way it is. Like, I don't know.
It's funny.
Like, I really go through a lot of phases, but I'd say I'm a worrywart overall. I'm definitely a worrywart.
Me too, but I'm on so much medication. I've medicated myself on so many things, either prescribed or self-medicating, for so long that I just stop myself from thinking. That's all that my goal in life is to not think. So I'm like you. I think seriously, I can think about something creative or something I enjoy, but anything outside of that, bottom line, money. Don't think about money, then you'll be fine, because everything comes down to money.
That is the stressor.
Here we are.
The biggest stressor in life is that. And then people say, you think your money makes creates happiness? Well, no, but boy, would that the peace of mind factor would be nice. I know it could open up so many other avenues.
It could, but if
you let it, like, I mean, you could just say, hey, listen, family, you're not getting shit, or this is what you're getting. Don't bother me ever
when
again.
I'm dead, what do I care?
Yeah.
When I'm dead, they can have it. I'm not taking it with me. That's the wonderful thing about family and having stuff, is that you can inherit from somebody else. All you need is a few successful people along the way, and you can inherit. And that's wonderful, So, but still, here we are in this merry-go-round, in the hamster wheel, doing what we got to do. And all you can do is it's a tough balance. It's a tough balance, because you want to have fun. I would never want to be a person that just freaking couldn't have any joy, couldn't take anything from things. I want to be entertained. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't want to work freaking 20 hours a day. For what? So
there's got to be a balance. I have no problem hustling and bustling when it comes to work, but I want to turn it off. I would be miserable. It wouldn't be fun for me to work 17 hours a day.
It's terrible.
It wouldn't be fun it would be hell. So,
being 8 hours a day.
And
sucks.
I don't even respect people that do it, because, I don't care, but I don't respect them. Oh my God, you work 17 hours a day. I'm like, power to you. Do whatever you want to
Hey,
do. If that brings you happiness, so be it. But I
if
don't
it
look at
does.
that like anything positive. And I don't care what the money situation is, because when the fuck do you have a chance to enjoy it? These are all the ones
Right.
that say I can retire at whatever age, and they never end up doing it.
Yeah, right. What's the use? Right. They can't do it. I can't. Are you kidding me? I've wanted to retire since before I started work. I've never wanted to go to work. I never will. I have no desire unless it's something that I can enjoy, like directing a movie or writing or something creative that I have a passion about. I don't have anything passionate about anything that had to do with any job I ever had. There's nothing in there except I'm going to come here and I'm going to work for 8 hours or what have you, and I'm going to go home and I want to get paid for it. That's it. It doesn't go anything past that, because honestly, nobody cares about you either. Your company doesn't care about you. Your country doesn't care about you. Nobody cares about you except your small circle of people that you're going to engage with in life. And that's it. Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about horror.
Yeah. The horror of life and work.
Right.
I'll tell
we're
you,
supposed to have fun.
I'll tell you this year, although I've watched a couple of fun movies.
Oh, this year.
I've watched a few fun movies. It has been a pretty dire year in the big picture.
I've been saying it, and I never say it.
I know.
Yeah.
Like I've caught up on a few that I missed or was saving and watched them recently, and I enjoyed all three that I watched this past week or week and a half. And I still look at my top whatever, and nothing. I mean, there's no top 10. I mean, there's 10 there, but to call that a top is almost upsetting. And
yeah,
I enjoyed these movies. I might even give them an 8.
Yeah.
But nothing is blowing me away.
One movie did for me, and that was it. But I only saw it once, but it wasn't something I expected either. But it did. Aside from that, no, hell no. It's, how many have I watched? Like 20? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I don't know. 20, 22, something like that. I have a 9. I have a couple of 8s. I have an 8.5. That's it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 things that are 8 and above. And that's it.
I'll have a look at mine quickly. Funny enough, when I brought my phone up, we got a new comment on, I think one of the YouTube things that I was talking about earlier. And one guy says, "I'll take it over any other horror movie podcast out there." And that's in response to the one saying that it's good still, but it's not as good as when Brandon was on it. The camaraderie of all three. So
thank you. Either way,
that was CW Books.
Nice. By the time they hear this, it might be a while from now, but either way, thank you.
Yeah. I got to look at my little. Let me look at my Letterboxd. And
more people should join though, because there's a free thing right now. That's what I don't get. If it's a freaking free thing for a month, why not join it and see what you listen? I don't know. Think about all the stuff you could listen to. Like, I'm thinking of it from a listener. Like, if there was a podcast I listened to and I haven't, and there's like maybe like 50 episodes that I wanted to catch up on and I always enjoyed the show before, why would I not join for a month and just freaking try to get as much as I can and see how I felt about it? I'm surprised we don't have more of it. We have stuff, but I mean, it's just like, and it's so funny. A lot of people just jump in and they don't even sign up for the trial. They come back and they do this, or they pay for the year at once. I'm like, okay, that's awesome, but you could have waited and done the trial first. But anyway, yeah, 21 movies is what I've watched.
I've watched 21. Isn't that hilarious? Exactly 21 as well.
That's crazy, man.
And so there's 4 that I watched this past week, and I liked all of them. I liked them all. Evil Dead Rise, Cocaine Bear, Nefarious, and Wrath of Becky.
Okay. Yeah.
And I saw Wrath of Becky. Yeah.
I liked it too. Oh man, I don't have Evil Dead Rise written down here. So actually
22.
I've seen 22. Where the hell is Evil Dead Rise? I got to put it down there. And then I got to tell you that Evil Dead Rise, yeah, that's one of the highlights.
Yeah, it was. I've got it. As of right now, it's either my favorite or tied with my favorite, like in the sense between Scream 6 and Evil Dead Rise. That's where we are right now.
It'd be in my 10. It'd definitely be in my 10. I'll say that.
And Cocaine Bear was silly fun, and it was totally enjoyable to watch. It has some gory moments, a couple, like, it is played more for laughs, as you're well aware. Right. But it was way more enjoyable than I was expecting it to be. But it's like, so I also think I heard some really negative things about it. So I just watched it expecting nothing, and I had fun with it. It's not like right now it'd probably be my top 10 or maybe rounding it out, but it's probably like a 7.5.
Right on. Okay. I'm still not going to watch it, I don't think, but
that's fine.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be for me, but whatever. So
and Nefarious was based on your recommendation or telling me to watch it, and I enjoyed it. That's a good that's a way to do a low budget movie.
He was great, dude. That actor,
great acting. Great acting. If anybody has been complaining about acting in that as a low budget movie, I have a feeling people are shitting on this movie because it's made by people that I would never expect, like the God's Not Dead 1 and 2 people or whatever. So it's made by a Christian group. So
so that's why.
Yeah, exactly.
They had a preconceived notion because it was already that was their history that this was going to be preachy. But do you agree with me? Isn't it more centered? Like this is the way they would think?
I'm not saying it's not preachy, but I do feel like at the very least it's a conflict just based on, like, well, I guess you could say that based on religion and their typical beliefs, like it's a total conflict of ideas where what they're presenting and how they're presenting it would almost go against that. Great. So that's why I feel like they did try to balance it a little bit. I don't know if I'm articulating myself properly, but I'm just saying, based on what you brought it up, there's like an abortion component, there's the death row component of it. So, and then
there's the neglect, there's the intentional
component too. But again, as I described this or said this when you were telling me about the movie, the thought process is most diehard Republicans, which tend to fit into also the religious category, are for capital punishment.
Right.
Am I wrong about that?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's both.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so even if they are being preachy,
cherry picking,
I feel like at the very least they try to balance that out a little bit.
Yes.
Because although religion is against murder or
all
whatever,
murder.
That's where the conflict happens. Like that's where like really in life, and we could argue this until we're blue in the face. You could argue in a vicious circle. You're like, well, wait, you're saying you believe in this, but yet you have this thought process over here. That's
why it makes no sense to me. Thank you.
Exactly. It's always been a conflict for me as well. How you could hold these moral beliefs, yet be like, oh, but for that I'm okay with, or whatever it may be.
And both sides do it on different ways.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying it's I'm just saying if that's the argument, you could tell the reviews that these are the makers of God's Dead. Scratch like, oh, preachy. I'm not saying there is a preachy component to it. There is, but I feel like the movie's still well done.
Well, I think it's balanced, at least, like you said, as opposed to so many other things that we see, which, people always excuse other things. So they say, oh yeah, well, this one did, and they look the other way on stuff because it's something that they happen to agree in, or agree with. So it's like, you're not realizing that this is preachy to somebody in the middle that doesn't want to, that can clearly see it, doesn't have an agenda. Like I can pick up on things because I have no agenda. I see the faults in both things. So I see it. I'm like, how do you not? So the one time somebody does something that includes something like this, you're going to freaking shame them for it? Doesn't make any sense to me. Like me, at least I'm consistent. I'm always consistent, and I've said this for years about religion and about the different sides of everything. And I'm like, me, and I'll say this to anybody, I don't believe that I am allowed to, or that I should decide when anything no longer breathes. That is me. That is me. I don't kill a spider. I will not. I got sick to my stomach the other day for the first time in my life. For the first time in my life, I killed an animal. I think I killed it.
Really?
All these years driving, I've never hit an animal, and I was, I talked about that.
You're cracking a
I've
bad
said
joke.
No.
I thought it was like
so
a spider.
I was driving. No. There was a bird in the middle of the street on my mom's street. And, birds always fly off. They don't want to get hit by a car. So there was a bird. So the bird was in the middle of the street, and I slowed down. It kept sitting there. It was just a regular little bluebird or blackbird. It's a small bird. And I freaking drove. I positioned because it wasn't moving. So I positioned my car so the tires weren't going to freaking hit it. And I would just drive over, and the bird wouldn't get killed. Well, the bird panicked, went up, did something, because then I turned around because I didn't see the bird move. And I look, and the bird was flopping around in the street. And I was like, oh my God. And I wanted to turn around and run it over again. But then I was like, then I'm going to have a freaking nasty ass tire. Then what am I going to do? It's going to stink.
Maybe, maybe you'll flop it.
There's other cars.
What freedom.
So, but let me tell you, because of that happened with that bird, I felt freaking bad all night long. I don't like extinguishing from anything.
Yeah, I get it.
Not like I'm against it all. Anytime,
maybe though.
That's just me. I'm consistent.
Maybe she was the Gordon of the birddom. Maybe she was committing suicide. Maybe she had a bad day, and that was the end of it. She was like, I don't want to fly no more. And then you answered her prayers.
Oh,
the
man.
Gordon of birddom.
Maybe so, but I felt bad about it because I don't think I'm entitled to decide when anything no longer exists. Because
I mean, that's an accident. Yeah, out of control.
Right.
In a sense, I think I've done that.
Yeah.
Did that on the Skyway.
But I can't do it. Oh, see, that sucks, dude. I don't want to kill anything. I feel terrible. But either way, at least I'm consistent. At least I'm against all forms of killing. Anybody wants to ask me a question, figure it out yourself. Anything where it involves killing any living thing, I'm against doing it. That's it. But see, I'm an individual. That's what I'm saying. I don't subscribe to this site or this site or this group or that or any of that stuff where I'd say, well, I'm going to be okay with this kind of killing, but not this. Not me. And I'm not knocking anyone that does it. This is what works for me. I like to be consistent. And that's it. I leave it at that, So, if somebody broke into my house and they were coming at my family and I had to do something, that's no choice. That's self-defense in the moment.
Yeah.
But even then, I would shoot for the kneecaps or something. You know what I mean? I wouldn't.
With a shotgun. Make sure he has no kneecaps left.
I would try to subdue him rather than kill him. You know what I mean? And then get out of the house and then say there's a killer in my house or whatever.
At least the movie sparks conversation, and the movie looked really good. I mean, it's done on a low budget. I thought the ending, which I read one or two quick reviews, those ones that give you the line and you click on the thing and that ends up being the whole fucking review. You're like, where's the actual review? I mean, I could do a quote and it'd be,
right.
And then that'd be the end of it. But I think it was like, it stumbles along until it's laughable ending and laugh-inducing ending. I'm like, I was not laughing there when that scene went. I thought it was probably the most effective electric chair sequence I've ever seen put to film, because Shockers was over the fucking top.
Well,
Horror Shows is over the fucking top, and enjoyable. And I know there's been other ones, but this just got under my skin. Like is acting there, the way they shot it and how long it went. It was like, oh my God, it was really well done. But it is two people talking for 3/4 of the movie. So
I loved it.
And so did I. So did I. But I could see people not liking it or arguing that it was boring or whatever. And to each their own. so be it. It's not going to be for everybody, but I was into what they're saying, and it was the performances that made it. It was and I don't even think this was super low budget, but it was low budget done well.
Yeah. I was engaged in the conversation. That's all I need to be to care. Talking dialogue in a movie can be boring, but then if you really care what they're saying, and I'm the first guy to critique dialogue that doesn't need to be there. I've said it many times. I've said it about older movies, in fact, a lot. The 70s and other eras, that there's dialogue that doesn't need to be there, where we could get what we want to get out of the film without having that. And that's when I notice it. But other times I'm like, I'm engaged and I want all the dialogue to be there. If I'm into it, I'm into it. So, and that's how I felt watching Nefarious. I was just into the idea of whatever the conflict, what was going on with these people. And, I was quite into it. Wrath of Becky, I like too, not as much as the first one, but I liked it.
Yeah, same. I liked it as well. I liked the direction they went, and again, I kind of liked the how it ended.
Oh, that turned me off. That was
really?
Like, okay, now it's too well, because why would that be that?
I know
what they said they were going to do. They didn't say we're going to turn you into this. They said you're this age and you're going to be a member of this, and that's it. That would never fly. That doesn't make any sense. See, that's what I'm saying. That's a jump the shark moment to me, and that means the next movie, if it's going to be that way, it's probably not going to be my cup of tea. Like, this movie added a little bit more of a sarcastic, like, humor in it, a little bit, but it skated the line enough that it wasn't too much for me. The tone was a little bit different, but I was still down with it. I just, didn't like it quite as much, but I still enjoyed it. But I was really high on the first one. But this one, it did what it did. But the thing at the end, I was like, come on now. Why would this make any sense? Why would this have? But I understand you like that stuff. You like Psycho Gorman and stuff. It's just not my cup of tea. It took it too far. See, that is my biggest problem with film franchises, is when they have an existing thing and they change the tone of it. You don't need to change the freaking tone of what's good. Why does everything? How come nothing ever starts off one way? How come nothing ever starts off comical and then gets serious? Everything starts off serious, it gets comical. You know what that shows me?
That's funny. Yeah.
A lack of creativity. They're like, well, we don't have enough to freaking have a serious thing anymore and to have an engaging plot and to have scary stuff. So let's just, humor is easy. Let's go, ha. Let's do a show. You know what I mean? Come on.
Unless you're Evil Dead. Evil Dead horror comedy, adventure comedy, horror, and then a show that was a combination of everything, and then it went right back to horror.
Thank goodness the last two Evil Dead movies.
And what a love
captured
note,
that.
Even the love note that Evil Dead Rise was, because to be honest, as I was watching it, I'm like, wow, this is no question the most not Evil Dead movie of the series. Like, it just didn't feel like it. You had the Necronomicon, that was it.
And that's fine. It's just a book. That's all you need.
At first. And then I was like, okay, but I'm still liking it. I'm like, but why do they need to be in an apartment other than for the cool title? I'm like, because right now they're not using it to the advantage at all. All of that ends up being answered or plays out and is fun in the last act. I'm not saying that the lead up isn't good. The lead up is good.
I get you.
But the last act is what makes the movie. And it is a lot of fun. But it's a little, I admittedly, I went through a few phases as it was building to that, going, are they going to drop the ball here? But lovingly, they don't. And I like where they went. And there's like love notes to the other movies, the original too, but keeping it with a serious tone. I'm talking about the Dead by Dawn. I'm talking about the chainsaw. I'm talking like everything.
Yep.
Even when it goes over, and I think there's even Come Get Some, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't she actually? I
think you're right.
Said, "Will swallow your soul," and she, I believe, delivers that line. I'm going by memory now, but because I was like, wow, and they did it straight laced, and it was so cool to see. And another one I could see not being like anybody else's. Like, I was expecting it to be more demons too. I thought there's going to be way more people involved. And there really isn't. I'm
glad there wasn't.
There are two other families. Well, no, I guess I went in more blind to this one than any of the others, and I really enjoyed it. Like that opening was a cool way to open it.
Yeah.
And
Yes, it was.
kind of bookend it or bookmark it. So it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all on board for like for any other follow-up. So it's great.
Yeah, dude. I can't spoil it. Forget. I was gonna say, but when they did something in the beginning, I thought that character in the beginning was also the character that we were at the next place with. I go, wait a minute, how is this happening? So for the first half of the movie, I thought that was another person, and I was like, oh wait, these are completely different people, and they were here. And I was like, so my dumbass. At least now, when I go back and watch it a second time, I'll be able to not have that happen. But that's cool. But it's so weird. Horror fans now. Some are just freaking dogging it, and I don't know what they want. What are they expecting in modern horror? They don't watch independent stuff, and they complain about everything that comes to the theater. Sometimes they like them.
You got the Necronomicon, you got demons, and you got a lot of bloodshed.
I'm so happy.
A lot of bloodshed. Like they didn't. So I was like, well, this is not as gory, nearly as gory as the 2013. And it still may not be, but near the end, they go for the gusto. Like they try.
Yeah, they do.
The elevator specifically too. It's
great stuff. Yes.
So
what would have happened? What would have happened in the past had there been a social media? Like, what if social media was around in the 80s? Do you think all these movies that we love and that are revered, people would be freaking knocking them?
Oh,
I don't get that.
Friday the 13th would have been one that, like, after the first few, maybe the first four, it would. I mean, you saw that naturally. I think the internet would have just killed it even more so. Like, what the fuck? Some paramedic was the killer at the end of part 5, like, or an ambulance driver, and then people are like, "What? What the fuck is this? I'm not seeing that."
Well, when we get to that Fangoria freaking book, that magazine that comes out after the final chapter, because I know I have them, or pardon me, after A New Beginning or whatever, it's going to be interesting to read some, because that's really all we have. All we can go by is the mail from those days as to what we're saying about certain. And so, as we've done so far with the Fangorias, sometimes we've been surprised at some of the stuff we've seen, which, by the way, another few people came forward and said we should do Fangorias. So there have been.
Was it Chris A.K. Scott?
I don't know. Why does he like them or not like them?
I don't think he likes it, but
that's
why I like it. That's the best
How
thing
could
about
you not like that?
That's the best thing about it is he's going to be like, you sons of bitches, as he listens to this. So you can't get mad at it. So I almost want you to pull out the Fangorias right now and do a second.
I will. If we had the time, I'd go grab one.
Well, why don't we do one movie and then we'll do a Fangoria segment?
Okay.
And then we'll do the other movie.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Well, listen, wait, first, hey, why don't you do the honors? Why don't you snap your fingers and bring us into black and white?
Oh, the honors, huh? Okay, all right, here we go. I'm even gonna count it down though. Okay.
All right.
So, all right, 3, 2, 1.
Wow. Here we are once again.
Look at me. I think I look thinner.
We're in 1939. Son of Frankenstein. Returning to the ancestral castle long after the death of the monster, the son of Dr. Frankenstein meets a mad shepherd who is hiding the comatose creature. To clear the family name, he revives the creature and tries to rehabilitate him. And this one is not directed by James Whale. It's directed by Roland V. Lee, who actually I didn't research at all. I thought he did a great job with this.
Looked good.
Yeah, they're with the shadows, the look. And again, Bride of Frankenstein played out like, when I say a real movie, played out fine. It felt like they got their footing when it came to movie making. This plays out like pretty much any old movie that I've ever watched with my father or whatever. At this point, it just feels like it was business as usual. Not in a bad way. I just meant that the soundtrack was good, the acting was good, the editing was top notch. Everything kind of just fell into place. It just, movie making had come a long way since the first Frankenstein 8 years prior. And the movie's good, but that's it. It's not great. I felt it was very much of a rehash of part of the original, and it felt like not a lot was happening. But there's some great characters in it.
There are great characters,
like Mr. Woodhand, which you can't believe that Mel Brooks just literally took the character and made him a comic character. Yet he's doing all the same shit in this, and it's played straight.
It's so weird. I was so thrown off by that. I'm like, I'm expecting it to be funny, and it's not funny. And it's just, but it's so off the wall. Why would you do that with your hand if you had a fake arm? Why even bother lifting it? I was kind of perplexed by the way he was handling it. And maybe it's almost like Mel Brooks saw that and said, well, this is ridiculous. Why is this guy doing this? So we may as well call it out for being ridiculous and just go over the top with it, because I don't understand that.
Sure.
The movie was too long. The movie was too long and not enough happened. When I saw an hour and 39 minutes, I was already, maybe going into it, I was already like, a little bit, because the first ones clicked along at such a pace, and
an hour 20 minutes. Yeah, hour 15.
Yeah, not 20. Even. Then it was great.
The extra 20 minutes, and you're like, for what though?
Because is it earned?
Yeah.
What happens?
I don't know.
See, this movie. Do you know what this is? This is like Halloween Ends.
Sorry, my mic.
This is like Halloween Ends, but in Halloween Ends, I enjoyed what they were going for. Where in this, instead of Frankenstein was almost an afterthought. That Frankenstein's monster. Okay, the monster is almost an afterthought, and it's more about freaking Igor's story.
Bela Lugosi.
Him.
And I like
Igor
Bela
is
Lugosi.
Basically, like, what's his name? I like him too, but the story, that's not what I want to see. Now I sound like the people that didn't like Halloween Ends. But in Halloween Ends, I enjoyed what they went for. In here, I did not. I don't care to see.
Should have been called Igor.
That's what I'm saying, that Igor is controlling the monster for his own thing, for his own revenge. I don't need that. Like, at least in Halloween Ends, there's a moral to it. There's the story of Haddonfield, and there's trauma and evil and everything. It goes places to me. If other people don't like it, that's fine. That's their business. But what I'm saying is, this movie gave me like that vibe. I was thinking, this is like Halloween Ends. This is like freaking, why are you doing this when you have this monster right here? Why are you having him being pushed in the freaking back? And it's not even so much about Mr. Frankenstein himself. Like,
and they took it so far. Yeah, they took it so far in the future, which is weird. And you can tell,
I know,
right out of the gate with horror movies, sequels, or franchises, family is key. Like, so we keep shitting on Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. They all went the family route. Whether, like, down the road when they're running out of ideas, they tied it all together with family. So even in Halloween, they ran out, didn't run out of ideas, but the idea came in part 2, sisters, and then niece, and then whatever, the bloodline for Halloween. And then for Nightmare on Elm Street, it was pretty much left right out until Freddy's dead, and they had to bring the daughter element into it. Family element. Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell, family element. Yet again, it's always, it starts right here out of the gate with the OG. I mean, Son of Frankenstein, family element right away. They could have gone a couple of different routes with this. And this could have been maybe been the 4th movie. It's funny that they have all this time in between. So what is Lugosi? He's like the hermit in the Revenge of Michael Myers, keeping the monster. We laugh at the hermit in Halloween 5 in a sense, and I would have laughed even more with the Dr. Death stuff that they've sort of found and tried to salvage for the latest release, but because nothing can really make sense of it. But we laugh because it's 1989 when that came out. Now, this was 1939, 50 years earlier, and you're not laughing, but really at the end of the day, so Lugosi's just keeping him as a pet for decades.
I don't get it. I like the story of what happened with Igor. I like the story that they hung him and it didn't work, so he got a free pass, and he's got that freaking
the old wood neck, like you said.
Yeah, the neck like that, and it's cool, and he's interesting, but it's kind of like I don't want to spend my time with Renfield, and I don't mean the new thing with freaking Nicolas Cage. I'm saying I don't want to spend my time, even in the original Dracula. I don't want to spend my time with Renfield. I want to spend my time with the Count. That's what I want to see. That's what they did in this movie. They didn't even focus enough on Frankenstein himself, the son. What the hell is his name? Whatever.
Henry?
Basil Rathbone, whatever his name was. You know, they don't even, and when they do talk, when he is featured, that's the most boring stuff. Like nothing's going, we get the gist of it. They just kind of overdo everything. They stretch it out when it doesn't need to be stretched out. Like they could have done stuff with the kid, and I like having the kid there and stuff, but they could have, I don't know. There was just, and the wife wasn't really that interesting as a person. She didn't really have anything memorable about her. She was very pretty, but when I think about the wife in the first two Frankensteins, I don't know. She had lines that she had things. I wasn't interested in in the Son of Frankenstein himself and his wife. I just want, let's get to the monster and let's see what happens. And then we get all that stuff with with
he's
Igor.
Baron von Frankenstein. So he's the one that is the
they're always Baron von by name.
Fuck did I say?
I forget his actual name.
Baron Wolf von Frankenstein.
Yeah, Wolf. Yeah, weird, huh? And they became von Frankenstein. They never called him von Frankenstein before, did they? And was the city called Frankenstein before?
No, that was the other thing. Now the city was called it, and I guess they named it after the father. Yet they left a bad taste in his mouth, and he was trying to clear he was trying to clear the name of his.
Yes, I do too.
All that's fine.
His introduction
I like Bela Lugosi. I like his character.
Me too.
I like it, but you're right. Like Frankenstein's monster and Dr. Frankenstein were almost like secondary.
Yes.
They focus more on Lugosi and more on Lieutenant whatever his name is.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever his name.
Why am I fucking up his name? Let me see.
Plague. I don't know.
Inspector Crow.
Oh, I know. Inspector Crow. Yeah, it was just too much of it. They could have cut half of those scenes out with the dialogue between them, and you still would have got the point. For an hour and 39, especially in these days, 1939, and if we've already seen the other ones were short and great, then how are you earning that extra 20 minutes? What are you doing with that extra 20 minutes? It doesn't seem like much of anything.
And again, whether it be 20, 10, whatever it was, it does bog the movie down a bit. But I feel like we're coming off really negative here. I still enjoyed the movie, but I'm not going to lie and say I didn't feel the length. And I didn't say, what the fuck is going, like they could have trimmed that part a little bit and whatnot. And it's weird because the other ones felt tighter. So now they let the movie breathe. And I do have a little bit of a problem with it. I feel like an hour and a half may have been fine.
I don't know, man. I was checking out. I was checking out during it. I was just drifting off a little bit. It was just a little too long-winded, and I didn't care. And nobody was ever in danger. The only people that were ever in danger were the people that they sent him out to kill. That, you know what I mean? And then it happened so quick, it was nothing. There wasn't like any of the scenes like in the first one. Like you don't get any of the buildup of him coming back. It took forever to get him back. And it was done so inconsequently. I don't know. It was just, you didn't.
They wedge in it's alive line. It feels wedged in at this point.
Yes. And that he did say it. It's alive. He said it to the freaking other guy. Yeah.
I do
to
like
Benson.
They played with the sun. Like I like the sun saying the giant came and whatnot. He comes through his wall and all the hidden quarters of the house. Like, I mean, all that is cool. And like I said, they play with the sets. Like he really made the people seem small in the way that he framed it and filmed it. And from that standpoint, I love the lavish sets and the stairwells and the stairwell that looked like it was. I'm like, why does that stairwell have a pathway on it? leading to nowhere? Why didn't the stairs just start here? It's like the stairs started, then went lateral for like 10 feet, and then went up. But there's no point for the lateral. Like you could have just.
I hear you. Maybe it was supposed to be fancy. I don't know.
It was weird, but sets look good. The film, like I said, looks and sounds good. Music's there. What was Frankenstein's? What was with his outfit? Was there like
what, that freaking fur?
Yeah.
Yeah, how stupid. That's
like an ape suit.
Dude, it was bad. It was like what they did with Jason and Jason Lives. All of a sudden, give him a freaking belt and a freaking gloves. Why? You had a good look for a great look for Frankenstein.
It is.
Why would they put a fur coat on him?
Yeah, it's like he's wearing a fur coat.
It's like a caveman. It's like Captain Caveman's clothes.
That's what it is. Captain Caveman. It is that.
That's it. It's ridiculous. Why? And there was no payoff with the kid. I thought for sure he was going to kill that kid. But in the very beginning, when the kid even came up, and I even wrote that in my notes early on in the movie. Let's see. Here's my notes. Bella, huh?
I think that's it's too old for kid death. Like, no,
we've seen kid death in the other one.
Yeah, I guess you're right. The girl got killed in that one too. You're right.
Yeah. Bella, huh? Suggested by the story. That's my second note. I don't know. But you know what I should do for now when we review movies? I should just read my notes and then try to figure out what they are. Just read it. Suggested by the story. That's what I said. I don't know.
It's probably
okay.
This movie now is so far reserved.
Thank you.
Suggested by the story of Frankenstein.
They should have continued to do that. Suggested by the story. I like that for like other franchises. Okay, thank you. Igor, okay, we know what 9 out of people call it, and then it stopped. And I think he was actually saying that 9 out of people call the monster itself Frankenstein, which is funny because that's what happens now in society. That's the point I think he was getting at. I'm like, even back then maybe they were, which is cool. Here's a good line. We come to meet you, not to greet you. I love that. I wish I could say that to somebody. That's what they say when he arrives in town. Butler Benson, which is cool because I'm thinking of the show Benson, Robert Guillaume in the freaking 80s, Black Butler. And this guy's name was Benson. He was a butler. Way up here on a mountain. Oh, there it is. Please let this be a foreshadow. That was my note. That's what the little kid said. He climbed up the freaking stairs and they were way high up. And he goes, look at me. He goes, I'm way high up here on a mountain. And then I wrote the note to myself, please let this be a foreshadow. How great would that have been? And he was so excited about being way up there on a mountain that's where he had his demise. And that monster threw him off of that. That would have been, I thought it was for sure going to be a foreshadow.
It was almost like they needed to wrap this up with a happy ending. And again, in old movie fashion, like a quick happy ending. Like, the monster's destroyed. Hey, everybody loves us again. Glad we brought our name is not like dragged through the mud anymore. Everything's cleared. We cleared our name, and they leave by train in the end. I was like,
they're happy to see him go too. That's what it is. Hey, he's leaving. Get out of here. Go. Yeah. So it's half of that. It's half they're celebrating the monster, and they have another Frankenstein's leaving. Thank you. But they didn't kill the kid, and I thought they would have. I thought that would have been cool. My other note: can't believe that arm guy arrives, which you've already alluded to. I couldn't believe when I saw that guy on the screen that was a real character. Oh my gosh! The mirror scene, which was cool when Frankenstein looks in the mirror, and he's like, and they're doing all that stuff. Which why didn't he talk in this movie after having freaking 50 words of dialogue?
Well, I guess being comatose for 15 to 20 years did it to him.
Yeah, I guess so. He got fog brain. Yeah, it's fine. He's like me. Alive. I wrote that. And here's one more note. This is my last note. An old-fashioned doorbell. Do you know that his wife says that to him because they got the huge knocker on the freaking door? Remember, think about this. Is nice. Yeah, exactly. This is 1938 or 39. And she says, can't we get an old-fashioned doorbell? I don't like that locker. And I'm thinking to myself, they already had old-fashioned doorbells in 1938 and 39? What is it? I didn't even think they had doorbells, period.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was weird, too.
Yeah.
But, hey.
Shows what we know about doorbells. I don't know. And those are all my notes. I don't have any notes after that.
Because
that's what I have. The climax was cool, but I was
they
frankly
established
kind of bored.
You're talking about the setup. They like, I don't know why there's like the bobbling gook, but that
Oh, they
bobbling
explained that. Yeah.
stuff. Well, yeah, but you knew that was going to be the demise.
Yeah.
I didn't remember anything. I told you, saw this as a kid, and this is my first time revisiting it, and I can't say that I don't disagree with you. I liked it, but I did feel like it was a little too long, unfortunately, with not enough happening that we hadn't seen before. It felt like a step backwards from Bride, for sure.
100%.
Like, the movie was well made, as I said. It felt like they were in the rhythm. It was like now business as usual. But I did like the framing, and I mentioned that already. But a lot of the other things were just so backwards, and I just like, well, solid in the sense of like, I'll just shoot my load, 7 out of 10. But it was good. It was good, but I didn't feel like it elevated or was on par with the other two.
Well, I'm not too far off. I'm 6.5, but disappointing considering coming out the first two. And then I was watching the movie. I'm like, man, what? I look on IMDb and it's got strong ratings, 7.1 or so. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
Okay, so is there something the matter with me? Because 7.1 on IMDb is what you would normally think a horror movie that's a 7.1 for us is going to be at least an 8. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is when you look at IMDb and the way they are. They're always a little lower than us. But I'm like, I'm not even that high. I can't even match it. But it's, it is what it is. It's the third movie in. This is what's funny. If I look at the first 3 Hellraiser movies and the first 3 Frankensteins, Hellraiser takes it. It's close. It's close. In Hellraiser 1, I was a 10. The second one was a 9. The third one, I'm going to say it's in this ballpark. It's like probably a 6.5, maybe even a 6.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the third that we're watching now. You're talking about that. 1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
I'm just going in general, but then there's that too. All right. Well, obviously, Frankenstein has taken the first 2 in this way after Hellraiser 4 and 5, and then of course we got to get to the next one. But
are we going to do the? You want to do a Fangoria segment quickly in between?
Do we have time?
Let's.
Don't you have to?
I'm good. No. But my wife came home. I forgot. I thought I was on my own for a bit. Carrie came home, so we're covered for everything else.
Okay, let me run.
Oh well, then stop this and then. Well, wait. Okay. Take us out of black and white first.
Oh yeah. Oh, I gotta snap it.
I can hear
1, 2, 3, and that's that.
What a cheesy gimmick, but I love it.
Awesome. Well, let me go grab my magazine, and let's do it. Do you want to keep going?
No, fuck. I'll keep going then. We're out of black and white. I'll keep talking.
Look at your.
I'll talk about
Letterboxd. I don't know.
Talk about this shit. So I showed you part 3. I don't know if I haven't even opened these motherfuckers yet. I got a record player. I should probably play these things, but they're just so fucking cool to look at. I love the art on these. And it continues inside as well. This is probably so I'm showing Friday the 13th part 5 now, the New Beginning soundtrack, the Waxwork Records one. And arguably my favorite of the scores. I've mentioned this when we did the franchise. I love the original, but the deviation, like the variations, I guess, of what he did with part 5, I just really liked, considering that most Harry Manfredini scores sound exactly the same, if you ask me. And for shits and giggles, here's the 6th one. So a little bit of a visual pleasure for people watching the YouTube. And if you're listening, then just enjoy the description that I'm telling you. But ultimately, you can see them all. Some of you may own them already. They were out of stock for a bit, but part 1 and 2 you can only find, I think, if you buy through eBay now. But the Waxwork, you can't get them anymore. And 7 and 8, I don't even think I'm going to get, to be honest. Not a big fan of those ones. I think I'm hearing Francisca in the background, but it might be Dave. I can't tell. I think it's Oh no, it's Dave. I thought you were Fran for a second.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's funny. Frankie
I heard a
Goons,
voice. Yeah.
Oh no, I was doing cat talk to Ginny. I was like, "Come here, little jeans, huh? Come on." You hear her back there crying? Meow.
I did hear her.
Come on, Jin's up. She's coming.
Oh, now I do. Yep.
Here, walking. Come on, Jins. Ginny making an appearance. Where is she? Come on up.
Nope.
I don't know. She's doing something.
There she is.
There she is. Hi, baby. Hi. Always has something to say, this cat. And she sleeps here by the microphone half the time, don't you?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, not taking off. So which Fangoria do you have there?
Fangoria number 5.
Oh.
Saturn 3 is on the cover. Yeah, we're at number 5 now. I even have the notes.
I watched Saturn 3 last year because it was one of those ones that I remember sort of seeing and I really wanted to revisit. Again, cool. It looked really good. Like it was good cinematography and whatever. What a fucked up movie.
I enjoyed it. And we got to see what's her name naked too.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think she did freaking nudity. But yeah, Farrah Fawcett showing skin. Like, wait a minute. Yeah, I liked it actually. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Because I watched it for the 1980 show. You know? Okay, so let's see. Fango. Let's get to this. Fango 5. Okay. Mail, page 1. Okay, well, we get to start right off with mail. All right. See, because I have notes for all the things. That's what I would do. I read them, and anything that I saw of interest that I thought to put on the show, I just wrote what page it was. So let's see. Page 1 mail. What's going on here? Okay. The Postal Zone, a.k.a. Undead Mail. Okay. No more gore. This is what that's what they labeled this. Yeah, listen. You publish too many bloody color photographs. In every issue, except number 4, color pics displaying graphic bloody violence have been shown. Everything from exploding heads to cannibalism. How about that? Awesome. I wish you wouldn't publish these bloody pictures. And if anybody wants to respond to this person, G.O. DeVere, 10430 35th Avenue, SW, Seattle, Washington, 98146. Here's a response by Fango, by the way. Can't say that we agree with you, though we do respect your opinion, G.O. Yeah, G.O. G.O. out of here. By the way, none of the pictures we've run to date portray cannibalism. We assume you're referring to the picture captioned Nola's deranged motherhood in our coverage of The Brood. Those who have seen the film know that Nola's act is one of motherly caring, not one of hunger. All right. So there you go.
You got to lick it clean.
Yeah. They were complaining back then about gore.
Yeah, so we talk about Karens today, even if you hate the term. And that's essentially what that you're writing into a horror magazine complaining about the gory pictures that they're posting. Man, would have not liked, he or she would have not liked to see what already was happening and what came later, because it only got worse from there. That gore zone that I got, that first gore zone with the intruder cut.
Leatherface?
No, the first one I got was of gore zone was the one where
that you got. Okay.
That
I remember that now.
Bandsawed across the bandsaw, and you just see a close up of it on the cover.
I remember that, man.
Yeah.
Stuff was great. I'm just kind of reading some more here. There might not be a whole lot actually, as far as what's going on here with the mail. I just might have had to read the No More Gore one.
That's probably what it was, because remember, they were still, for the first few episodes or issues, they were using Starlog mail and answering it in there. And then by this point, obviously someone had written in based on the first 4 issues. So that might be it. And then it probably started picking up from there.
It's weird because there's people trying to figure out what Fangoria means. That's what it is. 3 different people are writing in there with how they came up with the name. There was like 3 different, they're trying to get what it is and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see what we got here. Back issues. Somebody wants to have back issues already on freaking issue 5.
They're 4 in or 5 in now.
Ooh, Canada's King. Let's read about Canada. Okay, let's see here. After reading countless articles wherein various individuals, Christopher Lee for one, don't want to be typecast, it's a relief to learn that David Cronenberg doesn't mind being Canada's king of horror. There are only a handful of those dedicated types around. George Romero, Richard Matheson, Dan Curtis, Stephen King, David Cronenberg, John Carpenter, Dan O'Bannon, Robert Bloch, etc. And so far you have featured most of them within half a dozen issues. Thank you, gentlemen, and keep up the good work. So they're happy with Cronenberg. So nothing wrong with that. The Brood, more talk about that. Okay. Request time. Oh, people put in requests. Weird. Yeah, not a whole lot.
Because again, this magazine started in 79, right?
Yeah.
So those would have been the new releases of the time.
Yeah.
And Friday the 13th hadn't come out yet. And I remember we read some of the articles, I think, when that did come out.
Yeah.
And it was mixed back then. It was mixed back then, I remember.
Yep. People love Alien. We're seeing a lot of that here. It's come up in a couple,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, that's Stephen King. Yeah, anyway, I don't want to keep going through that.
No, that's fine. We could like if as we revisit this and keep doing it, the mail is the one that interests me. I love hearing people's thought processes from back in the day when it was all happening. I love it.
Definitely. Well, here's a little thing. Page 12, talent reunion. They're talking about the Fog when they were making the Fog, and this is just one thing here that was said. Page 12, talent reunion. But if any film has the potential to steal Halloween's crown, it is the Fog. In addition to creators Carpenter and Hill, virtually every key technical crew member from Halloween is performing in the same capacity on the Fog, including production designer, film editor Tommy Wallace, film editor Charles Bornstein, director of photography Dean Cundy, and cameraman Ray Stella. The care and effort taken to resemble the core crew is a testament to the mutual loyalty and strong working relationship that exists between Carpenter Hill and the film technicians. Kim Gottlieb, still photographer for both Halloween and the Fog, agrees working with John is like a working vacation, she says. He takes the best people from film to film, and the result is a smoothly working unit, almost like a family. Not that the Fog would be a carbon copy of Halloween. After all, the easy way would have been to make Halloween 2. Here you go. This is interesting here. Halloween was a haunted house story, says Carpenter. In an attempt to do a horror film, which incorporates all the devices that you would expect from a horror film. No need for an extensive plot. Just pure evil on the just pure evil on the loose on Halloween night. We gave the evil form and a reason to do what it does, and just let it go from there. That's it. That's his thoughts on Halloween, which is funny to see now.
Well, when you could rewrite history so many times thereafter, and we hear that whenever they do these, it's almost like we want new content on these Blu-ray 4K releases, but it's them. Okay, they told the story, so now I feel like they rewrite history to a certain degree, and that's why I like the original commentaries, the original interviews, those so much more, because they were fresh and they're at the time, and probably more legit, to be honest. Everything now is just it's nostalgia, people that crave nostalgia, and they're trying to feed that. Think of our memory. We can't remember everything. You're going to talk about a movie that we did. I know the ones that we're talking about are 40 years old now. How the fuck are you going to remember that shit?
Right.
Like it was just yesterday. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's 2 more things. I guess I can save them because I know we have, but at least I'll know where they are. Oh, Monster Invasion. I love these things at the back of the magazine. Hint of things to come. You get that stuff.
Well, yeah.
Movies that are coming. Rocky Horror. Huh. How about that? Rocky Horror wasn't out in 79?
It was out. It must have been, that must be a re-release. You can't. When did Rocky
Yeah,
Horror?
maybe.
I think it came out 77. No,
Yeah, probably. I can't remember.
75. 75.
Right. Well, I have two more, but I could save them for next show. I got one on page 37, one on page 18.
Take them. Let's do them quick.
You want me to do them? Okay. Well, here's one. It says no discrimination, page 37. Okay. This is about the fog. Deborah Hill claims special pleasure in working with Carpenter for the third time. She does not feel that her contributions are lost in the shadow of Carpenter's considerable talent, nor does she feel at all penalized for being a woman in Hollywood. It's natural that attention should gravitate to John, says Hill. Film is, after all, a director's medium, and John's always careful to see that proper credit is given. As far as sex discrimination goes, the proof of a screenwriter's talent is the script itself. Sex just isn't a consideration. This is true. Excuse me. But Hill does feel that there is a very real barrier for women to overcome in the field of directing. Since Linda Wurtmuller, Seven Beauty, Seduction, and Mimi, there have been several women directors in Hollywood. Jane Wagner, who did Moment by Moment, or Joe Micklin Silver of Hester Street, for instance. But they are always directing what are considered women's films, love stories, and the like. Why can't a woman direct a Western or an action picture? The barrier is one that Hill hopes to break with an unusual project of her own, a murder mystery comedy based on the characters featured in the popular board game Clue, which she recently optioned from Parker Brothers as a film property. The Clue project will have to wait some months before it gains Hill's full attention. As Carpenter finished supervising the final cut and recording the unusually complex soundtrack for The Fog, Hill initiated pre-production on their next collaborative film, El Diablo, which I don't know what that's all about, but we'll have to look that up. On an action Western. This one will bear more similarity to the first Carpenter Hill film, Assault on Precinct 13, than to either of the two Fright films, though it will have some supernatural overtones. In Hill's words, the film combines elements from John Ford's The Searchers, Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch, and Jules Verne's novel A Journey to the Center of the Earth. An ambitious combination, and one that suggests that for Carpenter and Hill, the greatest challenge will always be their next challenge. So,
She ended up being, so just because I couldn't remember. So she held on to those rights, and she is the producer of Clue, the one that did come out in 1985.
So she produced Clue, didn't direct it though.
She didn't direct it. Directing went to Jonathan Lynn, but she's credited as the official producer, and then there's a few associate producers and executive producers, as we've learned over the years. John Landis is one of the executive, but she didn't direct it, but she did produce it.
But it's interesting to see that, what's going on at the time, female, directors, producers, and whatnot, and how times have changed. What about this other one, El Diablo? Was that made? That's supposed to be a Carpenter Hill movie? That was supposed to follow The Fog. We know it didn't happen. What followed The Fog? The Thing?
The Fog, and then the Escape from New York.
Okay. All right. Because that was 80. So is El Diablo Escape from New York? Is that what it became?
El Diablo, 1990 Western action adventure. I don't think that's the one that. No, it was a TV movie.
An action Western.
Well, let me see if she's a producer on it. Comedy Western.
Oh, really?
Let me see. All cast and crew. It's got a pretty.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be there as well.
Deborah Hill, executive producer. John Carpenter, executive producer. Yeah.
Wow.
So it did get made. It's a TV movie, 1990 TV movie, directed by Peter Merkel, starring Anthony Edwards, Louis Gossett Jr., John Glover, Joe Pantoliano. Just from the ones that you'd recognize at least.
How do you like that? Wow, and there's a Rocky
10
Horror.
years later, 10 years after that was published.
Isn't that something, the way it moves? Well, I'm just glad it happened. Okay. All right, so, and then one more thing. Page 18, Trick. Let's see what this is all about. Trick. Okay. This comes from the making of Village of the Damned. Excellent movie, by the way. Okay. Fondly remembered trick. Okay. The other amazing story I remember with some affection was a trick. I'm afraid I was responsible for playing on the producer, Ronnie Kanash. A grin appears on Rilla's face. Who is Rilla?
So this is obviously they're talking about the original one. And this is a retrospective.
Yeah, Village of the Damned. Yeah, because they were still talking about some of that. On the very last day of shooting, looking at the rushes on the previous day, the producer said to me, "You forgot to choose a close-up. Pardon me. You forgot to shoot a close-up of George Sanders, the lead actor, in that scene." I said, "Well, no, I didn't forget it. I didn't shoot it because I don't think the scene needs a close-up," he said. "Well, I think it does. In any case, shoot one and we can always use it or not use it later." The point is, I knew that if I did shoot that close-up, I would spend the next 2 months arguing with the producer whether to put it in or not. This is the director, obviously. So my whole endeavor that afternoon was to stop myself from having to take close-up. When we came back from rushes, we were well within time. We had only 3 more setups to shoot, and we'd shoot 2 of them by 3 o'clock in the morning. The end of the shooting day was 5:30, after which we were to have the end of the picture party. So we had to somehow drag out the shooting of the final shot, which was actually quite a simple one. I took everyone into my confidence, cast and crew, and for the next 2 hours, the most extraordinary performances took place. We rewrote the script. The actors fluffed their lines. We had gremlin camera problems. The tracks were laid in one direction and then in another direction. The sound man found difficulties. This went on and on. From time to time, the producer came down and said, "How are we doing?" And I said, "I'm trying to get the shot on the cam while we're having gremlins." The assistant director kept coming to me and saying, "Can we shoot yet? I can't think of anything else to do." Eventually, at 5:10, we had the last shot in the can. The producer came and asked, "Did you get it?" I said, "Yes, we've got it. We finished the film. I'm sorry I couldn't get that close-up of George Sanders." "Do you want me to take overtime for it?" he said. No, don't worry about it. I think it's marvelous you finished the picture on time. That's how I got away with not shooting a close-up of George Sanders. Good stuff.
All that for just not shooting it. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And he's probably right. The director just didn't want the close-up. So what do the producers know? That's great, though, the games they had to play.
So let's get into our next movie, because
let's do it.
The reason, okay, well, I'll introduce it and then I'll get into what I wanted to say. So again, for Summer Sausage, we are doing the Hellraiser movies, and we're on to part 6 now.
Yeah.
Hellraiser, Hellseeker from 2002, direct-to-video, directed by Rick Botta. A shady businessman attempts to piece together the details of the car crash that killed his wife, rendered him amnesiac, and left him in the possession of a sinister puzzle box that summons monsters.
Yes, indeed. Ashley Lawrence comes back.
This is cool. So weird, because this is the one that they really do say was not a Hellraiser movie.
How though? How could I not? This is what I'm trying to say. Even if you remove that, then you're just going to tell me that randomly somebody else wrote another story about someone's descent into hell, and why would it be for no reason whatsoever? It makes perfect sense that somebody opened the box. This is what happened. The plan with Kirsty being his wife. All of that makes sense. If you remove Kirsty in the box from the equation, why would any of this be happening? This is why I debunked that.
I feel like there was a script that existed that they then just trashed the ending and rewrote it and then put on their own ending to make it a Hellraiser movie. It just feels like a remake of the last movie we just did. It feels like a total retread. I mean, it's the same thing. You're following this guy around for the whole fucking movie, and he runs into things, and there's less Cenobites in this, less Hellraiser stuff, and the only connection is Kirsty at the beginning and then Pinhead at the end. And by that point, it feels like it's too late. I'm not saying that there's not any good stuff here, but this just felt like even more of a chore to get through than Inferno.
Oh, see, I thought this was easier to watch than Inferno. I was more into the story here. I was more into the lead.
The lead is better.
Yeah, the lead is better. The story just unfolds better to me. But keep this in mind. This is after watching Inferno, of course. So now I'm watching this one. It's cool to see Kirsty. What's going on? But then here's where I get a little confused. Right after the accident, he wakes up in the hospital, and they say he's been there for 30 days. Then he goes to work, and the guy says to him, his friend at work, he goes, "Are you feeling okay? You left yesterday for lunch break and never came back." So I'm like, wait a minute, is this 1 day or 30 days? And now for the first 10 minutes, I'm just confused. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then as it goes on, just because I've already seen Inferno, now I know where this is going to go. I go, oh, we're doing this again. This is okay. Right. It's okay if this is what the franchise is going to become. People that have opened the box, and it's almost like it would be a good premise for like an anthology show. All about people that have opened the box and their descent.
A TV show, no problem. For a standalone movie, you had two of the exact same movies, pretty much with the same faults. This one had chintzier editing tactics and whatever. I don't know. Just it rubbed me the wrong way. That felt again very direct to video. It wears it. Oh my god, on its sleeve. Excuse me. I can't even talk. I wasn't. I stroked out there.
Poor guy. No, this one to me, when I figured out what was going on, I was like, okay, now I'm along for the ride. I know what's going to happen. Let's see what goes on. I was really concerned with what they were going to say about Kirsty and what was going to happen with that and why. And I'm like, why would he give her the box? How did he find out about the box and that it had to do with her? So I was trying to figure out what was going to happen there because I knew what the end game was going to be at one point. Like, okay, this is cool to see these decisions that he made. And the thing is, though, I don't know who killed the other girls. Didn't seem like it was going to be him. I thought that it might have been Pinhead because he's popping in and out and talking. I was like, okay. When we get to the reveal, I'm like, wow, and why? But it also, I enjoyed my time with it more. And I also enjoyed the fact that it didn't have that feel that Inferno had. That had that that softcore freaking music in the background for no reason and random music. It didn't have that cheesy. See, this felt a little less direct to video and than the last one did. Inferno had that feel. And I explained why the last show. Yeah. Really? Because that background music didn't exist in this movie anymore. This felt like watching
the look, the framing, the move, the camera movements, the editing, the horrible car crash that made me laugh out loud at the beginning of the car.
It was horrible.
Veers off the road and just wee. I don't know. It's really crazy. They kind of rewrite history there. I think this is why I feel like it was written. It was another script. Is you have Kirsty back and they don't do anything with her really. So that's why I feel like, oh my god, we rewrote this. We can get her. We'll put her in the opening. And we'll get her to do that end to give it the bang for your buck. Because if you have her, why wouldn't the hell wouldn't have you used her for the better portion of the movie instead of following this jabroni guy around for the whole script?
Well, because she's missing. That's the whole key. We can't find the woman. You guys went into the water. In his mind, that's the whole story. He's being scrutinized by the freaking, by the cops and everything because his wife is missing and nobody believes him, but they can't pin it on him. So the story is, your wife is missing. So you can't have Kirsty there because then that takes away that whole element of the story.
No, I'm just saying that's how you know it was a previous rewritten script because that was remodeled into Hellraiser. Because if actually you knew that you're going to be able to have Kirsty back on the set, I would have been like, guys, let's fucking scrap this script right away. And just like the guys in the Village of the Damned story you told me, let's get this, let's rewrite this so that she's the main focus. Because supposedly she was brought in and not brought in on the cheap. So I think she made a joke that she was paid enough to buy a new refrigerator or something like that.
Wow. Okay. Well,
sounds like Dimension was very cheap back in the day.
boy, does it. Wow. I liked it for what it was. I thought the effects were fine. Most of the CGI looked good. The beginning, and again, Gary Tunnicliffe did the freaking, the makeup effects. It was directed by someone named Mick Boda, or I like to call him, or Rick, sorry.
Yeah.
Rick Boda Bag. You know what a Boda Bag is?
No.
You don't know what a Boda Bag is? Wait a minute here. Hold on. Boda Bag. Let's see. A Boda Bag. We used to have them a lot in the 80s. They still sell them now, but they were like a thing in the 80s. See these things? You carry them around and put water in them.
Oh, yeah. That's what those are called. I just call those canteens.
No, they're Boda bags.
Even though it's not a canteen, it's a bag, I know. But
yeah, that's the only word it goes by.
Boda bag.
Hey, look at Boda bag. If you search Boda bag, that's what comes up in every description. Boda bag. Yeah. Yep. Well, so Rick Boda Bag. Yeah. So what the hell about this one? The effects in the beginning when they're doing the brain surgery look good. I'm not saying they're on a level of freaking Saw 3, but they do look pretty good. And the CGI eel wasn't bad. It came out of his mouth, and it wasn't the greatest, but I was like, okay.
The brain was good. The brain was good. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
The CGI eel looked good for the most part. Even later on, when like the two heads part comes out, when we find out that the one guy and the other head comes out, it doesn't look bad for being CG. I think there was one thing that looked bad, but overall, considering what you have to think about the budget here and being direct to video, etc., those things weren't bad. You know what I mean? Those aspects of it.
Yeah, I just found it. I get bored of these movies where you're just following that same person. It feels like they're not doing anything, and they're using amnesia as like as a gimmick here, so he doesn't really know. And his friend is like, "Hey, man," and then you, of course, as the movie plays out, you get more and more pieces of the puzzle. But was Kirsty really that rich? Like, I mean, they had that old house. I mean, where the hell did she get all this money? Everybody died. The house collapsed on itself. If anything, she has nothing.
This is my question. Okay, that's what I was going to get to at the end, which didn't make sense. So if she had an inheritance, she would already have it. It would be in the bank because they said that her father and her Uncle Frank had some things. Well, they've been dead since the first movie. So yeah. It's not like an inheritance she's waiting for. It would be an inheritance that she already had. Correct?
Yeah. I don't know.
So
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Like, so that didn't make sense. And so now we're led to believe that did she kill all these women?
No.
Kirsty
I think
killed them.
No, that was the whole point. She made a deal to save because he made her use the fucking box, and she's like, "Oh, here you are again," or whatever. He's like, "No, it's what if I could give you 5 souls and you spare me?" And then it was him,
right,
and the people that the guy that is his partner,
these girls, right,
girls.
But
I actually had to rewind the thing. Going, there were 5 people. Like that's how much.
Well, they even
the movie
said it.
Just no, they said it, but I'm like, that's why I had to go back. I'm like, 5 people. I remember 1. I remember 1, 2.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what are the 5? There's 3. Where were the other 2? I literally had to go back and rewatch chunks. I just watched the movie.
Wow.
And I had to go back. I'm like, that is 2 times in a row. So it just shows that I'm not as invested in these. Something my mind is like thinking of something else because it's not holding my attention. Because you're literally watching someone going from point A to point B and whatever, and anything can happen in these stupid dreamlike states and whatever that I feel like it's a cop out. I feel like you've got carte blanche to do whatever you want, and they do it, but they never feel like they piece it together well enough to make me believe it or care.
Oh, okay. See, I guess I liked the whole story. For a while, I'm thinking, oh, what a lucky guy. He's got this girl coming on to him.
They make this guy look like Casanova. He's not that good looking of a guy.
No, but what do I care? I just like seeing these girls do their things. They're beautiful. And I'm like, wow, look at this. Look at this. So I'm like, lucky guy. But then I'm trying to figure out. So, of course, I knew them all when they said that them 3. And then there was the partner, the guy at work, and then obviously him. But I'm like, So I got all that. I was okay with the girls and everything. There was a good setup with what was going on there. To me, it plays out like a Twilight Zone episode, and I love that type of stuff. And this is where it's gonna go. And then you get that extra little twist at the end involving Kirsty, who's done this before. She makes a deal, and I like it. She's always trying to make a deal. She's smart. That's what's good about Kirsty. She did it in all 3 movies that she was in. So she did that each time, and now that's the only thing I had a problem with. Who actually did the killing? If he didn't do it, and Pinhead didn't do it, the implication to me is that Kirsty was the killer. But that changes her character, doesn't it?
Yeah, actually, you're right. Like,
yeah,
what I don't even know. I just assumed I thought Pinhead did it. I thought he collected the souls.
Okay.
He was presenting the people. Like, here's the people, him, his buddy, and the girls, and that's who you're taking.
Okay, maybe that's possible. But then how did she orchestrate it? Because he opened the box.
Again, right? It's making less sense the more you think about it. Because you're right. Like, I mean, but I feel like that's to be expected because of the fact of how it was created. But again, if you like the last one, I feel like you're gonna like this one. I feel like they're pretty much 2 peas in a pod. Same sort of structure
to me. Yeah.
This one, yeah. I think they're very much on par. But admittedly, this guy was a little easier to swallow than Craig. What's his face in the last one? The main character in the last one. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like having Kirsty there, and I like the idea of what's going on. Because remember this, she kills him with the gun. So she does shoot him. So she is a killer, and she has to cover up her tracks. And the only reason she killed him is what? Because he was going to kill her, and she found out about it, I guess. Is that what happens here? Because he gives her the box. Why would he give her the box? Why would he know about her history with the box?
This makes a very good point. None of this makes sense. When does that argument happen in the car? Because then if she shoots him, says that he shot himself in the head. We're watching his descent into hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his descent into hell is after he's been shot in the head. He's waking up from, and that's what there's all these cool little things that they're trying to show if it reveals or like, oh my God, it's so fucking forced.
What was forced? What part?
Like, the nurse.
I love that. Allison, she was the one that was talking to him, so she's
horrible.
I love that stuff.
Wow. Oh, it was so shoved down your throat. Like the sea serpent. The sea serpent in the throat, that part, but then, so what, you're right. So when are the collecting of the other souls happening? It is descent to hell. We're seeing it. He's visualizing it, but he's dead. So is it that during his descent to hell, these souls are being picked up?
Well, his descent to hell is just showing, they're just messing with him. This is what's happened. This is what you're.
But then you're right. Then how is the 5 souls being delivered to Pinhead?
Well, because that meeting happened first. No. It makes sense. She opened the box.
So is he the last one then? We're like, I'm forgetting the timeline. Like, again, everything just, it's like the movie's vapid, and as am I, my thoughts of it, it just seems to dissipate right out of. So we're watching, he's the last soul, essentially.
Yes, because they're arguing. Okay. Remember, they're arguing about the other girls. She goes, how could you bring those other girls in the house and in my bed? And this is, so those other ones had already been killed. And then she kills him. So I'm guessing that she killed everybody. And that's actually kind of cool that she did do that to save herself. Yeah.
I don't know if they really dot that I across that T at the end. I don't know. I don't think they allude to that. They definitely spell it out that she killed him. But that would have been a better movie. But
I think that's what they're implying when you see the discussion between, and then she shows them, and they show them all come up dead. They show the meeting. Excuse me. They show the meeting that she has with Pinhead, and he says this and this, and then they flash to other scenes when they show them dead. So it's like, wow, I think she's behind it, which is kind of a cool place to take it. I mean, the fact that she has an inheritance doesn't make a lot of sense because she would have already had it by now because they've been dead for a long time. And I could see them having money. I don't know. Who knows? If you look at the first Hellraiser, I don't know. It's possible. You don't know, but that doesn't bother me so much. But I just happen to like these kind of stories. I guess it's got the Twilight Zone thing. It's got the way it's revealed at the end. I knew where it was going to go, but I didn't know that Kirsty was going to be factoring into it as much and the one responsible for what's going on, which I think is a cool thing to do with a character, which you wouldn't have seen coming. So I liked it. So that's what I liked.
I don't have the DVD of this. I should see if I made a copy of this back in the day when I did that whole zip.ca thing. If I still have one, locked away somewhere. But to save money on writing a completely original Hellraiser story, the script was quickly edited, as in the one that they initially had, to insert the Cenobites and references to Kirsty's past with them. A scene written specifically to try and bring the largely unrelated plot in line with the canon of the first two Hellraiser films was subsequently cut, but it's available on the DVD as a special feature.
Huh.
Interesting.
So, but they wouldn't have filmed a movie without Kirsty in it. You're not going to sit here and tell me that they're just going to put her in there.
No, so when they rewrote the script, they did wedge her in, knowing that they, I guess that they were going to be able to get her. It just feels like such a wasted opportunity at that point. Because I don't even remember the marketing saying that she was back for this.
I don't either, because it was direct to video. Maybe if you rented a videotape the year before, they said coming next year from Dimension, a videotape at this store. You know how they used to have those little trailers at the beginning of the videotapes. Maybe that's when you would have caught it. But I don't know. I wasn't really renting movies at this time so much anymore. So it's hard to say. What year is this?
There are people, 2002. There are people that like this movie. There are people that like this movie. Best Hellraiser since Hellbound. Lots of 7 and 8 I'm seeing, and then of course more people being realistic.
They're gonna hate on it because it's not 1 and 2. That's the problem. You can't compare it to the first two. You have to take it for what it is at this point. I would much rather. This is what I'm trying to say. People dog these movies why don't you try to watch the freaking Children of the Corn franchise or the Howling franchise or even freaking a couple of the Texas Chainsaws, and you could take all. There's even Resurrection, and there's Jason Goes to Hell. I would rather watch these last 2 freaking Hellraiser movies than those movies I just mentioned. This is what I'm saying. They get such a dog. People dog on them. They're not bad movies. I understand what you're saying about the script and them having, and I could buy it for this, but they still did rewrite the script. It wasn't like it was a complete. I can't see somebody making a movie about this. Somebody going to hell without that motif. Why would you make that movie? I don't know. It's just.
So, I mean, it seems like this is kind of like loved or hated. I'm shocked at how much love it's gotten. I'm exactly the same rating as the last one because it feels like the exact same movie to me. In fact, the Cenobites are in the other one more, a 5.5. Like again, it just sort of squeaks by with a pass, but it's I have no interest in watching it again.
That's fair, and I'm the same rating too. Mine's a 6.5. Again, same thing. I almost wanted to make it a 7, but I have a few questions as to what goes on really with Kirsty and the inheritance and who did the actual killing and everything else. I like to believe that she did it all because that's kind of cool. I'd have to watch it again, that scene and the way it's revealed to see what's what. But once I figured out what was going on, I like when the one guy says, I'd rather spend it in hell with you, but then he kills himself. That's freaking, it tells you right there what's happening. When the guy freaking shoots himself, his partner. But then you got the 3 girls. You got his boss. You got the young girl that lives in the apartment, and then you got the other girl, the freaking acupuncturist girl.
Yeah. I had to go back. I said it earlier.
Wow.
I'm like, who am I missing here? I can't
forget these girls. Oh my God.
Couldn't remember, and I had just watched the movie. I'm like, 5 souls. I'm like, here we are again with that 5 soul thing, just like Evil Dead.
Man. No, I was thinking all these girls were so attractive. I just kept thinking, lucky him. You got this one, this one, this one. And they're all, serious.
Yeah. Once again, I'm not like cursing at my screen going, why do I agree to this? I'm glad because it gives me the reason to rewatch them. Right. But I haven't been blown away by any right now. And I have a feeling that the downward spiral continues, unfortunately. The
Fair.
only one I've heard a positive note about at one point was that Judgment one. But I said, I think I tried that. And I watched the first 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be for me. So I haven't even given it a fair chance. So I'm trying to go in open mind. But yeah, the last Inferno and Hellseeker felt like exactly the same movie, slightly altered to be able to differentiate it between and make it sound like it's two different movies.
Yeah, no, I guess because of the end game being what it is. I think that from when I look at them, they both seem very different to me. Like the production values, they just look different. Like the Inferno had it seemed cheaper to me in some ways. Although we had more Cenobite action and some other stuff, which was cool. Other stuff looked too like I said, it was like watching softcore Skinamax movies sometimes, and I didn't get that vibe this time. I just to me looked like a regular direct-to-video movie for this time, but without being as cheesy in some of the ways as the one before it was. I guess I don't know, but yeah. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. What was I going to tell you about this? I like the one thing. When it does happen and when the box gets opened, it's so cool what they do there. They make it look just like it did in part one the first time you saw them. Did you notice that the freaking the walls and the thing fell off and it was almost just I go, well, they did that well. That's cool. I was happy.
I was really surprised they showed some box animation there. I thought, oh, are they going to cheap out again and not actually show the box move? It's so limited what they do. They've got the box, you barely see it. They use it in the opening credit sequence to make it look like a nice Hellraiser movie. Rinse and repeat. That's what they did the last one. That's what they do here. But they did show some animation. Pinhead seems even less like Pinhead's better in the last one, in my opinion. He does even less here.
But he's in that. I agree.
He's in that last act. They save him right pretty much for the end. I mean, bookmark him at this point. Give us something. If you're going to work on this cheap, at least tease them at the beginning to boost up the production a bit.
Well, he was teased at the beginning. He came out of the one picture when he was in the that office, and then he had a conversation with him later when he went to the place, and he says, this is what's going to happen. You're going to pin all the kills on me." And he goes, "I assure you, the killer is amongst us," or something he said. But he was remember he was talking to him, and it was actually a cool shot because it was the reflection of him being in a puddle in the water in that place when he was talking to him. So he did show up 3 times. There was once in the beginning, once maybe before the third act, and then again at the end. So he was there. It's just, again, just like he was in the first movie. I don't know. Same thing that happened this time is the same thing that happened to me last time. I hear people dogging these movies and I watch them like, they're really not that bad. I mean, people talk about them like it's egregious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's freaking, these movies are all like 3 out of 10s or something. And it's not like that. You know, it's just.
I can see what they're saying to a certain degree. I'm trying to be a little bit more forgiving of them, but neither of these do I feel like I mentioned. I'm doubling down on what I just said is I don't feel like I ever have to watch them again now. I'm glad I'm doing it.
Yeah.
For Summer Sausage, and then that's it.
That's fair. Just like Amityville. I for the most part had a good take on the Amityville sequels. Not all of them, but
yeah.
I was like, oh, these aren't as bad as they're made out. Now it's a whole other story. I'd never watched the ones now. But I'm talking about those first 8. You know, it's just they were fine. But whatever. It is what it is. So
now we've got time we've got what? Ghost of Frankenstein and what are we at? Hellraiser Deader? Is it Deader next one?
It's Hellraiser Car You Were. Awesome. That's all I know.
It's Hellraiser what?
Kari Wurr, the actor, one of my favorites, is going to be actress, whatever. She's going to be in it. Kari, you know Kari, right?
I'd have to see her. I don't know.
Oh my God. If you don't know her, you don't know her. No, she started off on, what do you call it, dude? On Remote Control on MTV. You remember that show?
No.
The game show? Oh, she was okay. Well, and she's an actress. She was, what would you know her for? She did some Skinamax actually, but she did some, you know what she was in? She was the gypsy girl in Thinner, the pretty young gypsy girl. And she was also in, what do you call it? What's that movie with J-Lo and the snake?
Anaconda.
Anaconda. She was in that.
I saw
Hot.
that.
I love her. Kari Wurr is my girl. I'll always love her. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one that she's in. That's what I remember. So I'm happy that I'm going to be seeing her. So what is it? Hellraiser? What do you think it is? Hellseeker?
Deader. No, we just covered Hellseeker.
Pardon me. Okay. Yeah, 2005 is Deader. Yeah. Boom, Kari Wurr. That's all I need to know. Put Kari on the screen, I'm going to be fine.
Because Hellraiser Hellworld, I think was filmed at the same time, I think. It's 2005 as well. Yeah, it's 2005. So I have to confirm, but I think Deader is first.
Deader is first. Yeah. If you go by the box. Yeah.
Guess
who directed it? Rick Boda.
Deader and Hellworld. I think he did all three.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Good old Rick Boda, huh? Let's see here. Let's see what he did. He did Barbed Wire. Wow. He did Lethal Weapon 4? Kiss the Girls?
No, he was on the crew of those ones.
Oh, is that what it says?
Okay. Yeah, he directed.
Right.
Yeah, my God.
Yeah, Hellraiser, Hellseeker, Deader, Dead World. He did 3 in a row. You're right. Deader's next, and then Hellworld.
All right. Well, we'll be back with that one then, everybody.
Yep. So, summer sausage, bring your Boda bags. That's all I can say. That's what to do, everybody. Go out in your backyard today. You know what I mean?
Joke and a half.
Make up some sausage and get a Boda bag. And you can be really into the whole freaking the exploding head summer, you know? If I can get a hold of a Boda bag, I'm gonna get one and I'm gonna take a picture. And I'm gonna be on my back deck with a sausage and a Boda bag. Just so 3 people can chuckle.
And us two of them.
Right. That's how pathetic I am. Okay. That's all I need. Forget about having a group page with all kinds of action. Give me a couple people laughing at a picture I post. Boda bag and sausage. Nice. Okay, well, we made it. We did it. How about that?
Did it, man.
Yeah. Well, so
see you next week, everybody. Next episode. You next week. Everybody else next episode.
That's it. All right. Thanks, everybody. We love you very much. We couldn't do it without you, and we wouldn't do it without you. So, yeah. Much love.
We could do it without them, but we choose not to.
Well, yeah. But then if we did it without them, we'd be just talking to ourselves, and it wouldn't be much of a show, But who knows? So that's it. Monchichi, and do what makes you happy. Peace out.